You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Good morning. So glad you're here. Life is sweet here at Flo's Focus. Pull up a chair. The coffee's perked, so go ahead, pour yourself a cup. Let's have some fun and see what we can find to explore today. Positive note. Even on Hurricane Harvey and Irma, we can find something that's positive to start our program with. And that particular something is a couple named Harvey and Irma who have been married 75 years. Neither one can believe that they're a hurricane. He's 104 and she's 93. They've never experienced a hurricane. They've been married since 1942, but they said in their 75 years of marriage, they've never received the national attention that's been cast on them in the past week. Wow. And they are marveling at the fact that 2 consecutive hurricanes bear their name. Don't know how they've done that to have a Harvey and Irma. Irma told the New York Times. Yeah. But, the thing is, it worked out. This couple, they've been married for 75 years, and out of those 75 years, they had 3 children, they've had grandchildren, and they've been foster parents to 120 foster children. They met many years ago, of course, and they met because she was living with her sister in her sister's apartment back when Irma was in high school, and he was a military member, and he saw her and thought that he liked what he saw. So he wanted to meet her. So he went to knock on her door. Well, she opened the door, but she shut it immediately because she didn't know him. Well, some way or another, they obviously met. They got together and they had many good years together. They taught Sunday school together. They did a lot of great things together. But never before had they had a hurricane named after themselves. Wow, they were pretty impressed with that one. And the people that love them seem to be impressed too. I guess the only really positive thing I could find out of Harvey Hurricane is the everyday people that came forward and became heroes. They rescued other people, even putting their own lives in peril. It was quite amazing that we have so many great Americans. That's one thing about Americans. When people are in trouble, that's when Americans stand up for each other. They don't ask each other, are you Democrat, are you Republican, are you white, are you black? They stand up for each other because they know they're American. And I hope we will do that again. As horrible as Irma was on land, I don't think she was as horrible as what they had anticipated her being. She sure was on the islands, however. I think she left about maybe 40 dead, and that includes the people on the islands. So she did her own damage for sure. They were concerned that she could take all of Florida out, it sounded like. I kept some records on what they were saying at the time. I'm sorry there, I left my fan on, and that's the sound bite that you heard. I promise I won't do that again. Keeping notes on Irma proved interesting. Irma wrecked many islands, and then she headed to the mainland of America. They thought the storm would come in via Miami, but there was a shift, and Irma sure brought terrible news with her. Well, now they're concerned that Hurricane Jose will follow Hurricane Irma. It means business when Disney World shuts down. So as I mentioned, I kept notes starting back on 9/9/17 a few days ago. And at that point, they said Irma will remain an intense hurricane at least Category 4 as it makes landfall in South Florida on Sunday with potentially devastating impacts. The hurricane will then go on to affect much of the peninsula with severe impacts extending into parts of central and northern Florida. Life-threatening storm surge inundation will occur along coastal areas north and east of Irma's path. And they did expect hurricane force winds, 74-plus miles. And as you can obviously see, a lot of the trailers, the mobile homes that were out, were just crushed like soda cans. I mean, they just look flat, or they have parts laying about. They really warned all of Florida about Hurricane Irma, and they also warned some of the states above Florida. Well, she made landfall as a Category 4, first time in America mainland that two storms of Category 4, two hurricanes of Category 4, made mainland landing the same year. But it happened. So it was really something to behold, sad something. The whole state of Florida was in trouble, they said. There's really nowhere safe, they didn't believe. Irma was going to cause issues, no matter where you were, but they were prepared as much as they could be. They had urged everyone that could to get out of Florida. Instead of getting out of Texas, it was get out of Florida. It was really, really something. I understand one guy got on top of his house, and his house actually fell down, and he ended up under some of the debris, which ended up being one of our deaths. Of course, gas was hard to come by, and there was a long line in trying to get out of Florida, so people had their reasons for staying. There was also a shortage of nurses to deal with for the hurricane's aftermath. He asked for about 1,000 to help at various shelters, volunteers. That was the Florida governor that asked, and they did come forward. They had more than 11,800 people housed in 30 shelters. Nurses were flown in overnight, believe it or not, from Texas to help. Of course, as mentioned, some Florida residents refused to evacuate, and actually this time they probably ended up being rather fortunate. They were concerned that she was going to be bigger, faster, and stronger than Hurricane Andrew, the devastating Category 5 storm that caused major damage in the state a quarter century ago. But the states were preparing for her arrival. As I mentioned, they had many shelters open and ready to go, and they had some on standby. Irma was a rapidly moving hurricane, and the weather and the consequences of that hurricane can change dramatically in a short period of time, the governor said. He said, adding that Irma could be more devastating for the state, but they did have emergency shelters and that they'd cancel classes for several schools and colleges. Atlanta is expected to be hit with high wind gusts and severe rainstorms, they thought. President Trump, of course, he approved a declaration of emergency for Georgia as well on Friday and ordered federal assistance to supplement state and local response efforts due to the emergency conditions resulting from Hurricane Irma. The storm also was expected to clamp down in South Carolina. Northbound lanes of I-95 near the Georgia-South Carolina border were empty as northbound lanes are packed as people evacuate ahead of the arrival of Hurricane Irma. So at first they were empty, then they became packed, and it was all due to the life-threatening inundation of Irma. The state, again, was ready to go as much as they possibly could be, and I think that helped too. It did not catch them by surprise. They continued getting ready, though. State emergency operations were on high alert, even in North Carolina. The National Guard and the state troopers were standing by. Virginia and Alabama also declared a state of emergency. The governor, Terry McAuliffe, in Virginia said the emergency order would help the state mobilize resources, including the Virginia National Guard, and pre-position people and equipment to assist in storm recovery and response. She said, "It is unfortunate that just as our nation has begun the process to repair the catastrophic damage from Hurricane Harvey, we are faced with another extreme storm. However, if there's one lesson we can take from the tragic events that occurred in Texas, it is that we must redouble our preparation efforts," which they did. And again, although Irma might not have been as bad on the mainland as they expected, she was horrendous on the islands. Irma was the most powerful hurricane to ever hit the Leeward Islands. And do remember, just 2 feet of water, just 2 feet, can carry away most vehicles. So don't try to drive in water. Don't wade in floodwaters. When you do, you could be exposing yourself to sewage, snakes, disease, and possibly even alligators. And there was a lot going around online in the different places like Facebook regarding emergency shelters. Some said that hotels had to take pets, and some said they didn't have to. Well, the fact is, emergency shelters themselves do have to take pets, but hotels serving as shelters do not have to, and that is per FEMA. And as we know, Hurricane Irma arrived in Hollywood, Florida, after arriving other places. She went many places in the state. She made landfall in Florida on Sunday, lashing the U.S. state with record rainfall and winds of up to 130 miles per hour. The governor, Rick Scott, asked people to pray for us. And you know, I truly believe that those prayers and the thoughts directed toward Florida is one of the reasons that that hurricane wasn't even worse. She got downgraded to a Category 3. She still produced lethal winds and tidal storm surges, leading to widespread and serious flooding and the potential for horrible damage, which she did cause, but it could have been, as mentioned, even worse. A warning from the National Weather Service told people in the area to move away from the water. Life-threatening storm surge inundations of 10 to 15 feet above ground level is expected. So don't be around the water. Take action now to protect your life. If you are in Key West, they said, please go to an interior room away from windows. Treat these imminent extreme winds as if a tornado was approaching and move immediately to the safe room in your shelter. Amid urgent warnings from state officials to evacuate before it was too late, downtown Miami was all but abandoned by Saturday. Thank goodness. Extensive flooding again was reported on Sunday, and they had tornado alerts and one twister confirmed. 2 large construction cranes in Miami were broken by the storm. There was utter devastation in the islands. As Irma struck, evacuees faced a desperate plot. They had a horrible time, but not, I don't think, as horrible as what the people in Texas had. And there was a thing going around to shoot at the hurricane. A Florida sheriff advised people not to shoot at it as it could backfire. And now you know the rest of the story. Many people don't realize how bad our wildfires are. We have the horrible hurricanes down south and to the east, but we have wildfires in the west that are just massive. We have fire complexes going on. Did you know that fires made up of several fires coming together? So you have all these individual fires and they come together. They are then called a complex. So they've had lots and lots of fires. In Oregon, for example, after really hot, dry conditions, they have had lots and lots of fires. There's the Chetco Bar fire, began as a lightning strike on July 12th. This fire, located in the Rogue River National Forest, is 131,197 acres in size and only 10% contained as of September 5th. Conditions in the area are not conducive to fire containment. So they're having a horrible time. They have strong, gusty winds and low humidity, and then very dry, hot, unstable conditions. The High Cascades Complex, which began on April 13th with a lightning strike, is currently 26,332 acres in size and is 37% contained. The fire is located in Rogue River in Crater Lake National Park, beautiful Crater Lake. The High Cascades Complex consists of 20 fires. 15 are originally part of the High Cascade Complex, and 3 are originally part of the Falcon Complex. 13 of these fires have been contained and are in control status. The remaining 7 are being managed with the full suppression strategy. And then, with those hot, dry conditions, it's certainly not helping matters. The Mill Fire is located 9 miles west of Sisters, Oregon, in Three Sisters Wilderness. The fire began on August 11th with a lightning strike. The size of the fire is 22,467 acres and now is 44% contained. The weather, though, is allowing the fire to spread due to unseasonably hot, dry conditions and wind gusts. It's forcing evacuations in the area. And of course, California is not exempt from this active fire season. 4 separate large fire complexes are labeled there. The Miller Fire Complex is currently 14,939 acres in size, right now 44% contained. The fires began on August 4th as thunderstorms rolled across the region and lightning strikes ignited 25 wildfires. Crews attacked them one at a time, trying to get as many as they could completely out. The remainder that were not contained were combined into the Miller Complex. Within the Miller Complex, 25 fires have been tracked since August 14th. While all 25 fires continue to be monitored, only 6 of the fires are experiencing growth. Well, that's a good thing anyway. A large number of evacuations are in effect around the areas that are still spreading. You can hear my host doggies, and they just don't think this is good at all. They are definitely complaining. The Eclipse Complex fire began on August 15th due to thunderstorms and lightning strikes, of course. And on and on and on the list goes. It's just horrendous how many fires we have out there. In fact, I don't know how many have seen the movie, The Last of the Dogmen. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend the movie. It's a great movie. Take some time and see it. It's great. But at any rate, they filmed it in Glacier National Park. And Glacier National Park is on fire now. So no matter where you go, it seems you can't escape the fires. My dogs are really, really stressed about this. You can hear the host puppies talking about it. The firefighters have had extra issues as well because we have a lot of dead trees in the forest, it seems. They said vast strands of dead timber in the western U.S. have forced firefighters to shift tactics, trying to stay out of the shadow of lifeless, unstable trees that could come crashing down with deadly force. About 6.3 billion dead trees are still standing in 11 states, up from 5.8 billion 5 years ago, according to the U.S. Forest Service statistics compiled for the Associated Press. Well, what's happening, it seems, since 2010, a massive infestation of beetles has been the leading cause of tree mortality in the West, and it now accounts for about 20% of the standing dead trees, the Forest Service said. The rest were killed by drought, disease, fire, or other causes. So they have to be careful that these dead trees, a lot of them still standing, don't fall on top of them and kill them too. No one disputes that dead trees, snags, and firefighter parlance present an unpredictable threat, prone to blowing over onto people or getting knocked down by other falling trees. Amid the noise and distraction of a fire, firefighters sometimes get little warning. So it's very, very dangerous. Ben Brack, a firefighter and public information officer on the Keystone Fire, said that's the scary thing about those snags. You don't always see them coming. To avoid broad stands of beetle-killed trees, firefighters sometimes have to cut containment lines further from the flames. That allows the fires to gobble up more forest before they're brought under control. And Bill Honenberg, a veteran Forest Service incident commander, said, "When we do that, fires get bigger and often they burn longer." That's really sad to hear, that these forests are also having this big issue with these beetles, and it's causing our firefighters quite a struggle from the sounds of things. Perhaps California should pay more attention to their fires than they are. It seems that they have time still yet to sue Trump administration, stating that it is unconstitutional, the president's plan to rescind a program to protect the dreamers. Now, come on, even Obama, when he put that into place, said it was a reach. He knew it wasn't legal. It's unconstitutional to begin with. So this is crazy. The lawsuit comes a week after 15 other states, led by New York and Washington, filed a similar legal challenge. I feel sorry for President Trump. He has had to fight people every step of the way to make things better for us. California Attorney General Xavier Becerra said Monday he decided to file a separate suit because the state and its economy will be especially harmed by the president's action because it is home to a quarter of the 800,000 people in the DACA program. He's really pushing. He said the DACA program approved by former President Obama is legal and that its repeal violates due process rights and will hurt the state's economy. That is so sad, considering that even Obama said it was a stretch. He knew then. The lawsuit was criticized Monday by Robin Havitzton, who heads a California group seeking tougher enforcement of immigration laws. It's misguided and premature and a misuse of tax dollars, he said. She noted that President Trump delayed repeal of the program for 6 months to give Congress a chance to address the issue, and that several Republican-led states have sued to end the DACA program. Sometimes it's like you just can't win, I tell you what, and I think Trump is caught in the middle of one of those right now. Congress, with its rhinos, sure isn't helping matters. I think Republicans have wanted to repeal DACA since the beginning of time, and they knew it was not totally legit. So where are we going to go with that? It'll be interesting to see. Well, and then we also have the rhinos in Congress who have been fighting Trump all the way. I cannot remember a time since the Obama's health care plan was put into effect that Republicans didn't want to stop it. It was put in strictly by Democrat vote. And that is pretty sad when you think about it. It wasn't the voice of America, it was the voice of Democrats. Maybe it's too bad that the Republicans aren't standing together the way that the Democrats did back then. It'd be nice if we didn't have those rhinos in office. Obamacare was again pushing that button, or whatever you want to call it, pushing against what was legal. I mean, obviously, when you force people in America to get insurance, that is just plain wrong. So now Trump has taken that away. No longer will the IRS force people to have insurance. What they need to do is leave that question blank. If they don't fill in anything, the IRS will not investigate further. So that's reducing the number of healthy people who buy policies. Insurance companies are going to lose revenue, and they can't afford to offer plans on the exchange. The head of the Department of Health and Human Services is former Representative Tom Price, manages Medicare, Medicaid, and Obamacare. Price wrote the Empowering Patients First Act, which Obama vetoed. By picking Tom Price to lead HHS, Trump shows he's serious about dismantling Obamacare. Price can weaken ACA requirements. He vowed to weaken the rule that health insurance companies must provide all of the 10 essential benefits. Price can also relax requirements that insurers cover some preventive services such as contraception. Price can require that Medicaid recipients must get a job. He has already assured states that HHS would support them if they started requiring that. He might allow states to establish premiums, lifetime caps on benefits, or other cost-sharing rules for Medicaid recipients. But HHS must have public hearings to do so. Trump nominated Seema Verma to lead the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Verma has helped Mike Pence create a Medicaid expansion plan in Indiana. She advocates that Medicaid recipients pay a small monthly fee to receive Medicaid. With Verma's policy, Medicare recipients would not be able to afford preventive care or treatment for chronic diseases. They would likely wait until the diseases created a crisis. They could then go to the emergency rooms that must treat everyone. This more expensive care is billed to Medicaid. Subsisting expensive hospital emergency rooms for primary care physicians increases health care costs for everyone. At some point, we really need to repeal Obamacare, folks, and we need to get those rhinos out of there. Vote them out. Vote people in that will do what Trump has been trying to get done. He cannot do it by himself. He needs Congress, the Congress that should be supporting him, to work behind him and with him. Walk side by side with him, not try to kick him from behind so he can't get anything done. That is my definite take on that. We have just enough time to cover some NOCO, North Korea facts before we go pay some bills. So let's do that. The Vulture, that is, aka Quackers, well, let me tell you about these. These facts that I'm going to tell you should be tongue-in-cheek reports. But sadly, they are the truth about the NOCO leaders. While the Vulture, also known as Quackers, also known as NOCO's leader, takes a break from throwing bombs or threatening to do such, I'd like to report on a not very well-known part of his life. Did you know that because the North Koreans see him as a god, they cannot imagine him having to use the bathroom? Really? Well, this is straight out of Arab news. I tell you the truth. Truly, comes the fact that when he travels, there is a vehicle that has a built-in toilet. Now, that's no kidding. The restrooms are not only in Kim Jong-un's personal train, but whatever small or mid-sized cars he is traveling with, and even in special vehicles that are designed for mountainous terrain or snow, said a source in his province. There are multiple vehicles within the convoy so that people cannot tell which one he is in, and there is a separate car that acts as his restroom. It would be unthinkable for Supreme Leader to have to use public lavatories as he tours the country inspecting factories and facilities. Do you suppose that his need to go to the bathroom and having to hold it so frequently could have made some of the dirty business go to his head? And now we would know the rest of the story. Oh, right. So it's all the dirty business that's gone to his head. This one is almost too sad to have any humor to it. I think it's more of a shadow of the type of beings we are trying to cope with. The Vultures, a.k.a. Quackers, a.k.a., well, that guy. At any rate, according to some sources, his dad said that sawdust was full of nutrients, encouraging his citizens to chow down on the building byproduct in their regular times of famine. Did he think his citizens were part beavers or something? Jeez. Magical beginnings. According to his official biography, Kim Jong-il's birth atop a sacred mountain saw a new star created and winter turned to spring. However, records kept by the country's Soviet allies show he was born in a Siberian village in 1941. Despite having one of the worst international reputations, believe it or not, North Koreans are told their leaders are beloved around the world and that each country celebrates their birthdays. And they actually believe this. Wow. Beware of time thieves. For decades, North Koreans believed the Japanese stole time from them back during their 1919 occupation. Kim Jong-un finally righted this injustice and set North Korea's clocks back by half an hour on August 15, 2015. Kim Jong-un is just as amazing as his father, according to North Korea's state media, which revealed he was a gifted sailor as a youth who also learned to drive at the age of 3. Boy, isn't he smart. The younger Kim is also a celebrated musical composer and artist who is celebrated around the world. Gee, too bad America didn't know that. The only people with access to the internet in North Korea are government officials, and the state tells its citizens it's a notion invented by the West. So next time you go on computer and get on internet, remember, you're just on a notion that's invented by the West. Keen to encourage South Koreans to migrate, the North Korean government built Peace Village near the border in the 1950s. Propaganda says 200 families live happily and work in the village, but observers say it houses North Korean soldiers manning artillery stations pointed south. The main thing here is that North Korea has made incredibly stupid threats. The Hermit Kingdom is a paranoid and murderous regime where social madness compelled a starving slave nation to weep and scream in frenzied mourning at the death of their last evil dictator, Kim Jong-un's father. And this Kim that's there now, murders anyone who knows anyone who disagrees with him. So what do you think about the new sanctions proposal? Did you hear that the United Nations Security Council scheduled a vote late Monday on a new watered-down sanctions resolution against North Korea that eliminates initial United States demands to ban all imports to the Asian country and freeze international assets of the government and its leader, Kim Jong-un? The provisions were a significant climb down from the toughest ever sanctions that the Trump administration proposed in the initial draft resolution it circulated last Tuesday, especially on oil. A complete ban on oil sales could have crippled North Korea's economy. The final draft would also ban all textile exports by North Korea and prohibit all countries from authorizing new work permits for North Korea workers, two key sources of hard currency. It would prohibit all new and existing joint ventures and cooperative arrangements, with some exceptions approved by the United Nations Textiles. Textiles are Korea's main source of export revenue after coal, iron, seafood, and other minerals that have already been severely restricted by previous United Nations resolutions. The revised resolution retains language on the Council's determination to take further significant measures in the event of a new nuclear test or ballistic missile launch. Beware, North Korea. Trump has not told you his plans, and he's not going to. And like I said, well, we're actually a little bit late paying our bills, so we better hurry. You know what those interest rates can be like.
Yeah, we gotta save our country or we'll eat ourselves alive. It's when we stick together, that's the way we will survive. It's honest junkie publics working hard across our land. We've seen the worst, we're still the best, we're all Americans.
Hopefully, you can reach me at Twitter. How can you reach me at Twitter? You'll find me under Flobo. Just hashtag Flobo. There I am. I'm also on iTunes, and you can reach me via email, and I would love to hear from you. And you can reach me on email via flowsfocus@klrnradio.com. So please contact me today. Let's get together and do some talking.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Save our country or we'll eat ourselves alive. It's when we stick together, that's the way we will survive. It's honest John Q. Public's working hard across our land. We've seen the worst, we're still the best. We're all Americans.
Welcome back. Yes, we are all Americans, and maybe, just maybe, that's why I feel the need to have a little bit of something in remembrance of 9/11. I realize that 9/11, the 16th anniversary of the same, happened on Monday. However, I would feel amiss if I didn't do something to honor 9/11. Listen to the following and tell me if you know who's talking and what it was about. I bet you do.
America was targeted for attack because we're the brightest beacon for freedom and opportunity in the world, and no one will keep that light from shining.
Amen. America's still standing upright despite all the things that have been happening to her. She's one great country.
On September 11, 2001, the New York skyline was changed forever. American Airlines Flight 11 and United Airlines Flight 175 were hijacked by terrorists and flown into the World Trade Center's Twin Towers, causing 2,753 casualties, including 343 firefighters, 23 New York City police officers, and 37 officers at Port Authority. Today, the skyline has a new face. Standing at 1,792 feet tall, the One World Trade Center is the tallest building in the Western Hemisphere and stands over the 9/11 Memorial and the rest of the city. At the site of the former World Trade Center complex, 2 waterfall memorial reflecting pools rest in the footprints of the original tower's foundations. The names of every person who died in the terrorist attack are inscribed around the reflecting pools, reminding us to never forget the attacks that happened that day. Never forget.
When I started thinking about 9/11 and reading about 9/11 again, I was really actually surprised to learn that it was the 16th anniversary of 9/11. Do you know what that means? There are teenagers and young adults in our world who do not recall this event. I would venture to say that most of our soldiers, our young recruits, they don't remember 9/11, other than the fact that sometimes family members that they loved have been killed in 9/11, and it's made a great impact in their lives. I also believe that when I was young, JFK was killed. I was in probably about 3rd grade. And that left a huge impact on my life, maybe stronger than a lot of other things have left. I remember crying and thinking that nothing worse could happen. And I just couldn't imagine, how could a president be killed? How could somebody shoot a president? That was just unheard of. It was something that my young mind almost couldn't take in. And I can imagine that young people that learned about 911 might have had similar reactions. Though they didn't grow up knowing JFK, one thing that did happen, these young adults, these young folks now that never knew 911 on a personal level, or maybe they were young and they did know a little bit about it. Well, one thing for sure, they have grown up in a time frame where terrorists were front and central in American politics. We had a small time frame before this, after the Cold War, maybe during part of the Cold War. We had a small time frame there where things seemed relatively peaceful. Well, the Cold War ended in 1991. For a while, the world continued to feel relatively safe. Then it seemed people were once again apt to destroy themselves or others. It's like they just have this, I don't know what you would call it, but part of themselves where they must destroy other beings that are just like them, except maybe they have different cultures, different beliefs, but they still are human beings. You don't see, for the most part, other animals killing their own kind. Well, that time frame that I mentioned when it was so peaceful, it was kind of a reprieve. And then in New York City, there was an attempt that was made on the World Trade Center. It was 1993 to be exact. The 1993 World Trade Center bombing. Do you remember the bombing? No, not the airplanes going into the buildings, but the actual bombing occurred on February 26, 1993, when a car bomb was detonated below the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York City. It was supposed to knock that North Tower, Tower 1, into the South Tower, which is Tower 2, bringing both towers down and killing thousands of people. Fortunately, at the time, it failed to do so, but it did kill 6 people and it injured 1,042. 2 years later, after that time frame, Timothy McVeigh appeared on the scene. Remember him? Yep, he set off the bomb in Oklahoma City that would kill 168 people and hundreds injured. At that time, it did seem like, man, it was almost the end of the world. I remember when I was in Dominica, and people there, they're very poor, but they handle their being poor in a different way than the Americans handle theirs. Americans truly are spoiled. I would say they just don't realize how fortunate they are in our country. In Dominica, the poor really didn't have things, but they had a certain pride about them frequently that you don't see in America so much. The Americans just demand things if they're poor overall, it seems. But these poor people, they didn't demand. I guess it wouldn't have done them very much good. But they told me, they said, well, we used to want to live in America because it seems so beautiful, so good there. But we would never bomb each other. So maybe we don't want to live in America after all. Sadly, things were just going to get worse. However, what we did know was that Timothy McVeigh was put to death on June 11, 2001 for killing 168 people when he bombed the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building on April 19, 1995. What we didn't know at the time was he would be the only terrorist that would be taken through the courts and executed that way by the federal government up to and including today's time. If you remember with Osama bin Laden, it was a story of the Navy SEALs tracking him down and putting him out of our misery. Well, as part of the plot to strike at the United States, these international terrorists intended to disrupt the dynamics of daily life, commerce, and finance in one of the most heavily populated cities in the United States. The suspects and his associates had hoped to kill upwards of 35,000 innocent people, talking about when they at first did that bomb. The site of the blast became one of the largest crime scenes in New York Police Department history. And the terrorists would eventually hit again. The 9/11 statistics were 2,996 people were killed and more than 6,000 others wounded. Their immediate deaths included 265 on the 4 planes, including the 19 terrorists, 2,606 in the World Trade Center and in the surrounding area, and 125 at the Pentagon. The attacks of September 11, 2001 were the deadliest terrorist act in world history and the most devastating foreign attack on American soil. It even surpassed Pearl Harbor. As horrible as Pearl Harbor was, Pearl Harbor is what led to the bombing of Japan, because it had to be stopped. Pearl Harbor lost 2,403 American lives, still less than the lives that were lost at 9/11. And one big difference was the lives that were lost in 9/11 were mostly civilian lives compared to the military lives. Both are vital. I don't say that one is higher than the other, but civilians weren't out standing up for our country, ready to fight if need be. They were just civilians doing their things day to day. Probably the day started just like any other day. They got gas in their car if they needed gas. They went to work. They, did everything they were going to do. What they didn't know was in the morning that they were going to be blown up, and that would be the last day that they would ever dress for work, because they would then be killed. As much as we do now know about 9/11, there are some facts that we may have forgotten. For example, we don't know for sure how the hijackers got into the cockpits of some of the planes. Was there injury to airline workers that were not reported to the American public? A flight attendant on American Flight 11 speculated that they had jammed their way in. The 9/11 report said perhaps the terrorists stabbed the flight attendants to get a cockpit key to force one of them to open the cockpit door, or to lure the captain or first officer out of the cockpit. Some of us knew then, but many did not know, that the passengers and crew aboard the planes called family members and reported what they knew. That's where some of the facts came from. Some of the passengers used the aircraft's radio to report the hijacking. Light passenger loads made it easier for the hijackers to maneuver. What do I mean by light passenger loads? Am I talking about suitcases or what? No, these are the known facts. American 11, bound from Boston to LA, had 81 passengers on board out of a possible 158, according to the 9/11 report. In aircraft data, United 175, which also left Boston for LA, had 56 passengers out of a possible 168. That was a load factor of 33%, considerably lower than the 49% average for that flight, a federal investigation showed. Did you know that most of those who perished were civilians, except for 343 firefighters and 71 law enforcement officers who died in the World Trade Center and on the ground in New York City? One law enforcement officer who died when United Airlines Flight 93 crashed into a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania. 55 military personnel who died at the Pentagon in Arlington County, Virginia, and the 19 terrorists who died on board the 4 aircraft. Overall, 2,605 United States citizens, including 2,135 civilians, died in the attacks, while an additional 372 non-U.S. citizens, excluding the 19 perpetrators, also perished, which, by the way, represented about 12% of the total. And get this, more than 90 countries lost citizens in the attacks. 90 countries. Including the United Kingdom, they have a figure of 67 deaths, Dominican Republic, 47 deaths, and India, 41 deaths. And again, that's only 3 countries out of 90. It has also been reported that many people who lived, worked, studied, or were otherwise present in Lower Manhattan at the time of attack have been diagnosed with cancer as a result of exposure to toxins at Ground Zero. Over 1,400 9/11 rescue workers who responded to the scene in the days and months after the attack have since died. And yes, there were warnings that the terrorists were going to strike, but maybe nothing specific enough to pinpoint where or how. I'll let you decide that. I'll give you a few facts and you decide that. In December 1998, the CIA's Counter-Terrorist Center reported to President Bill Clinton that Al-Qaeda was preparing for attacks in the United States that might include hijacking aircrafts. At the time, there was a plan to actually take over several airlines. However, that plan did not go through, thanks to an individual who, I think he had been working on it, he found out about it, and he actually went forward and reported it. On May 1st, 2001, the CIA informed the White House that a group presently in the United States was in the process of planning a terrorist attack. Now, that was on May 1st, 2001. June 29, 2001. The President's Daily Brief, y'all know what those are, stated that the United States is not the target of a disinformation campaign by Osama bin Laden. The document repeated evidence surrounding the threat, including an interview that month with a Middle Eastern journalist in which bin Laden aides warned of a coming attack, as well as competitive pressures that the terrorist leader was feeling, given the number of Islamists being recruited for the separatist Russian region of Chechnya. The CIA reiterated that the attacks were anticipated to be near-term and have dramatic consequences. Okay, we're moving into July here. July 10th, 2001. In July 2001, J. Coffer Black, CIA's counterterrorism chief, and George Tenet, CIA's director, met with Condoleezza Rice, the national security advisor, to inform her about communications intercepts and other top-secret intelligence showing the increased likelihood that Al-Qaeda would soon attack the United States. Rice listened but was unconvinced, having other priorities on which to focus. Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld questioned the information, suggesting it was a deception meant to gauge the United States' response. Okay, 1 month before, August 6, 2001, 1 month and a few days, the President's Daily Briefing, entitled Bin Laden Determined to Strike in U.S., warned that bin Laden was planning to exploit his operatives across the United States to mount with a terrorist strike. FBI information indicates patterns of suspicious activity in this country consistent with preparations for hijackings or other type of attack. Rice responded to the claims about the briefing in a statement before the 911 Commission, stating that the brief was not prompted by any specific threat information and, further, did not raise the possibility that terrorists might use airplanes as missiles. You think maybe we should have listened back then? Would it have helped if we'd have put him in jail or prison back then? Would we have had enough grounds? Sounds to me like we could have. The attacks greatly increased government focus on terrorism, not just in the United States, but around the world. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security was created to coordinate efforts between security agencies, airports beefed up passenger screenings, and cooperation and intelligence gathering between nations sharply increased. We now see terrorism as a top responsibility of presidents and our political leaders in a way we didn't before 9/11, said Daniel Byman, a national security professor at Georgetown University and senior fellow at the Brookings Institution. American 77, headed to Los Angeles from Washington, had 58 passengers out of a capacity of 176. Another proof, again, of how understaffed these airplanes were. And, of course, the well-known United 3, bound from Newark, New Jersey to San Francisco, had only 37 passengers for a 20% load factor, which was way below the normal 52. So those airplanes were very prone, very open for other people to come aboard and do their damage. The Air Force had been given orders by Dick Cheney, vice president, to shoot down United 93 before it could reach the Capitol. The Air Force fighters that were airborne at the time probably would not have found and reached United 93 in time. Military officials have maintained consistently that had the passengers not caused United 93 to crash, the military would have prevented it from reaching Washington, D.C., the 911 report said. That conclusion is based on a version of events that we now know is incorrect. The United States worked on multiple attempts to kill Osama bin Laden before 9/11, and I guess they just didn't work. The CIA and other agencies developed a plan to capture bin Laden in early 1998, the report said. That was delayed and then revived, but it was hampered by concerns from military officials about relying on Afghan tribal leaders. Then National Security Advisor Sandy Berger was concerned about what would be done with bin Laden if he was captured and whether the evidence against him could lead to a criminal conviction in a United States court. After the U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania were bombed on October 8, 1998, President Bill Clinton authorized cruise missile strikes against bin Laden's compound in Afghanistan. Bin Laden survived but was later killed, as we know, by a Navy SEAL team in May of 2011. The CIA warned President Clinton about hijackings in 1998. In the December 4, 1998 President's Daily Brief from CIA, the agency told Clinton that bin Laden preparing to hijack U.S. aircraft and other attacks. The plan, the agency said, was to hijack the planes to gain the release of Youssef and other terrorists. And that's what the 911 report said also. Saudi Arabia had multiple ties to the hijackers. 15 of the 19 hijackers were from Saudi Arabia. The attacks greatly increased government focus on terrorism. It's changed the face of the United States. Not just in the United States, mind you, but around the world. The United States Department of Homeland Security was created to coordinate efforts between security agencies, airports beefed up, passenger screenings, and cooperation and intelligence gathering between nations sharply increased. We now see terrorism as a top responsibility of our presidents and our political leaders in a way we didn't before 9/11, said Daniel Byman, a national security professor at Georgetown University and senior fellow at the Brookings Institute. Could a similar attack occur today in America? Not impossible, but not likely. The improved intelligence sharing between United States security services and between nations, increased attention to terrorist groups, and most importantly, increased cooperation from U.S. Muslim communities made it much harder to pull off a terrorist attack of that scale, Byman said. In the 15 years since the 9/11 attacks, 94 people have died in jihadist terrorist attacks on United States soil, far less than those killed by car accidents, heart disease, or accidental gun discharges. All those things that led to the 9/11 attacks to secede would be much harder to do today, he said. Republican and Democrat members of Congress abandoned their divisions on September 11, 2001, and they stood side by side on the steps of the Capitol to sing God Bless America. As both parties declared a legislative truce, that spirit permeated the nations. Flags waved in neighborhoods across the country. Citizens joined to donate blood, give to charity, and honor the fallen. President George W. Bush made it a point to attend services at a mosque, and even in that moment of fury, there were blessedly few attacks on blameless American Muslims. Democrats joined Republicans to boost the president's approval rating to 90%. And after America launched military strikes in Afghanistan that October to root out al-Qaeda, 80% of Americans, including a majority of Democrats, were solidly behind the move. The mood of cooperation persisted and produced change. For better or worse, during the next months, Congress created a new cabinet agency, the Department of Homeland Security. Lawmakers professionalized the ragtag minimum wage job of securing airports and moved to tear down walls between law enforcement and intelligence agencies. Have we forgotten that unity now? Let's hope not. It sure looked like that unity was gone from our country. However, in lieu of the hurricanes in North Korea and other world events, especially affecting America, could it be that we can again remember that we truly are Americans? Amer-I-can, not Amer-I-can'ts. We can be united, and we can be united for a common good. God bless this great country that we live in yet again. Across America, 9/11 memorial services were held. At the 16th anniversary ceremony in Pennsylvania, Vice President Mike Pence told the family and friends of the victims of United Flight 93 that the passengers might well have saved his life. Our vice president was in Washington as a member of Congress on 9/11 and learned that the Capitol was a possible target of the hijacked plane, which was only 12 minutes away. At the memorial service, he stated, "It was the longest 12 minutes of my life," adding that they soon learned the plane went down in a field in Pennsylvania. 33 passengers and 7 crew members were killed.
Yeah, we gotta save our country or we'll eat ourselves alive. It's when we stick together, that's the way we will survive. It's honest John Q. Public's working hard across our land. We've seen the worst, we're still the best, we're all American.
Yes, we are all American.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Hopefully, you know.
Yeah, we gotta save our country or we'll eat ourselves alive. It's when we stick together, that's the way we will survive. It's honest John Q. Public's working hard across our land. We've seen the worst, we're still the best, we're all Americans.
Hopefully, you know, you can reach me at Twitter. How can you reach me at Twitter? You'll find me under Flobo. Just hashtag Flobo. There I am. I'm also on iTunes, and you can reach me via email, and I would love to hear from you. And you can reach me on email via flowsfocus@klrnradio.com. So please, contact me today. Let's get together and do some talking.
It's hard to comprehend the long course of events that have brought each of us here today. For some of us, it's a matter of deep personal loss experienced on September 11th, 2001. It's very emotional every year. We get together, many of us in Somerset County every September, and the scab is ripped off every year. Flight 93 came down in a field just outside of Shanksville, Pennsylvania. When it came down, it came over a hill, inverted, just under 600 miles an hour, and went straight in. We heard what was going on. We watched the towers come down in disbelief. It was almost surreal to watch it happen. And then, to hear that afternoon that my brother was involved, it was just a body blow. I got that initial call from my sister-in-law that Ed was on a plane that hadn't been accounted for. And it wasn't until a little bit later in the early afternoon that I got a call where she confirmed that he was on Flight 93 and that the plane had come down. And at that point she asked if I could tell my mother, that Ed was gone. Well, Ed was my big brother. He was a wonderful father, loved his daughters, loved his wife more than anything. He didn't deserve this. None of them did. Thousands of innocent people were killed that day. I think we need to remember them collectively as the thousands that were murdered by terrorists on September 11th. But we never want to forget that they were individuals. The lesson from Flight 93 certainly is that we are strong, willing to stand up in a moment's notice and fight back against threats and tyranny. And I think that it reinforced that we still have that in us. It's in our American psyche. We learned early in the process that the Navy was going to commission these 3 different ships. We were privileged to be able to meet the crew, get a tour of the ship, and see not only how impressive the ship was just in terms of its capabilities, but also how the story of our loved ones was built into that ship, and it stands as a tribute to them. It's a real honor to know that the military holds those sites of those that lost their lives in such high esteem, and hopefully it will motivate those men and women that will be serving on those ships. Well, upon meeting the men and women that serve on the ship, I couldn't have been more impressed. They're volunteers. They've stepped up to the plate to put their lives on the line. How can they be considered anything other than heroes? It's overwhelmingly inspiring, because we can't afford to forget the lessons that we learned on September 11th, and the crew is helping to keep those lessons alive. Certainly there's a sense of comfort knowing that the Somerset is out there fighting terrorism, helping to keep us safe. Knowing that there's such strength and power that is helping to keep our country safe and our citizens safe, and it's important. I think that the legacy of our loved ones is a group of citizens that were faced with an extraordinarily horrific challenge, and they chose to stand up and fight. And I think that's the lesson that needs to resonate, that we can't afford to sit back. We need to be proactive. We need to stand up for what we believe in. Well, September 11th is always going to mean loss for me and my family and our country. I'll also think about our country's response to September 11th and how we came together and with great strength and responded as a country to not allow the actions of the terrorists more greatly affect the course of our lives. And at the end of the day, I don't know what else I could ask for, to know that my brother and those 40 other heroes in Flight 93 will be remembered.
Our heroes will never die in vain. God bless America yet again.
We'll do what my country has to be. Make any sacrifice. We'll pay whatever price, so the children of tomorrow can be free. Lead on red, white, and blue, and we will follow you until we win the final victory.
We truly do live in a great country. That's why I love America so much. My father was a World War I veteran, and my brother, his son, I guess it stands stories. Anyway, was my half-brother, was a World War II veteran. On Mom's side, my brother's were in the service, and my youngest brother was in Vietnam. So I have a pretty strong military history, plus I have a relative in the Revolutionary War who was my grandfather, so I'm eligible for Daughters of American Revolution, and so on. I was a nurse. In fact, I'm an injured nurse from the VA hospital in Middleton, Wisconsin. And that may have been part of what led me to start Eagle Angels. I absolutely love Eagle Angels. It's different than most nonprofits that you see because 100% of anything that we do is going for our veterans. You see, we don't take money in, not a penny. I'm sure if you've listened to me much, you've heard me mention Eagle Angels before. And I am, again, very honored to be their founder. We don't take a penny of money in, yet we reach out to all our military every time we can. This is the written description of our group. This is a group for individuals who want to support soldiers and veterans. Our entire focus is first on soldiers and veteran support. We also will work at being a support for each other. Our motto is Eagle Angels, giving loving encouragement to soldiers and others. And again, we don't allow posting of political or ads on our online site. We have many teams that do many things. These include our Eagle Angels Veterans Team. This team cares for our veterans, something very near and dear to my heart. They do their best to recognize veterans' birthdays by sending cards. In fact, we have a World War II veteran who will be celebrating his 100th birthday in just a few weeks. This team also sends cards for special holidays like Veterans Day. They also have special events to help veterans. Quite an amazing team with quite an amazing leader. Janine truly rocks and keeps the team looking up to snuff. Eagle Angels Active Military. This team, true to its name, cares for our active duty soldiers. This team might do anything from adopting our soldiers to writing letters to whatever the need is. Shirley is the leader and is a disabled veteran. She has a lot of love for our active duty military, and if you'd like to join us, she could use your help. Eagle Angels Baking Team. This team is where it's at if you love sweets. They are sweet as can be, and they bake yummy treats, both for our veterans and soldiers upon request. They bake a dozen cookies for every veteran's birthday. They also bake for our deployed soldiers when we have requests to do. Patty leads the veterans part, and Daisy with Lori leads the soldiers part. Eagle Angels in memory of team. This team places a memory graphic on this team site for our military members who die. It's how we make sure we continue to remember them. Jody is the leader for this very significant and memorial team. Eagle Angels Military Family. True to its name, it helps care for our military families. Robin leads this one. Fisher House and Veterans Homeless Shelters. Right now we help one Fisher House that the leader of this team is associated with. Eventually, we'd like to spread our wings and cover more. Christine is the leader of the Fisher House part, and Lori covers the Veterans Homeless Shelters. Eagle Angels Appreciation and Recognition. We do our best to recognize our members' birthdays, and we do some fun things like we have random Eagle Angels of the Month. At the end of 6 months, the names of the Eagle Angels of the Months are entered into a pot, and whoever wins, Eagle Angel sends a package compliments of that Eagle Angel to the military member of their choice. Jody leads this team, Eagle Angels Graphics. We have 2 Eagle Angels that lead this team. They make some real pretty clip art for us. One of the ways we could use these graphics is to put them on the packages we mail out to our military. Eagle Angels, blankets, and sewing. This is for our crafty Eagle Angels to do fun crafts and such for our veterans and soldiers. It's led by Susan. Now again, we don't take in a penny, but we do need help. We can always use cards and packages for our military members. Let us know if you'd like to join us. We'd love to welcome you into our family online, especially now that you know a little bit more about our group and teams. We'd sure love having you come join us. Thanks. I appreciate the opportunity to share with you about Eagle Angels. They're one very special group. Now this next part, I'd say the men could tune out, except for I'd really like them to stay tuned because I want them to tell me how well I do with this. You see, I'm a football widow, and really, I'm a sports widow, and I have been since Rob and I got married. Sometimes, when you can't beat them, you might as well join them. Now, I'm far from an expert on football. Hubby lives for football, basketball, and baseball. His picks are mostly Minnesota teams, as that is where he grew up. He was 10 months old when he first came to America in his mama's arms. He's never been back to Sweden and totally loves the sports here. I guess out of the three sports I mentioned, football would probably be my most favorite sport to watch. I am a left-sided learner, meaning I use a lot of mnemonics to help me remember important things. So with football, I know the number 11. Well, that's kind of a funny number. You know, why is it funny? Because if you multiply 11 by 1, you're going to get 11. If you multiply it by 2, you'll get 2, 2. So it keeps doubling whatever number you're multiplying it by. So with 3, you'll have 3, 3, and so on. So it's easy for me to remember that funny number 11. And that's good because that's how many members each team has to play with on the field. That's for offense, defense, and the special team. Now, don't let me lose you by those three names. That's just the three teams. Of course, the center is where the action really starts, and he's on the what they call the offense team. Well, you know, there's offense, defense in life. Offense means like, you know, you're on the offense, you're trying to score points. Defense means you're trying to protect yourself pretty much. So the center is on the offense, and he determines to hike or what they call snaps the ball, either to the quarterback or maybe another eligible player. He almost always hikes or snaps the ball to the quarterback. So remember, the center of our world, so think of the center of the world, okay? The center starts the play, and he sends it to a quarter. See? So I can get this. The center of the world, right in the center, he's going to throw it to a quarter. Cool. Okay, I got that. I picture a moving target as the center and a quarter that is ready to go to work. Then the whole purpose of the game, of course, is to make points. Well, of course they want to make points. And the way they get to make points is they get it into what they call their end zone and make a touchdown. Either by running with the ball, not a good idea for that quarter. A lot of the time that quarterback could be injured. They want to get it into their opponent's end zone and make that touchdown. The defensive team, however, true to its name, it defends and it tries to stop the offensive team from getting points. Anyway, the defense team loves to do what is called sack. So, you know, picture a sack. It really doesn't have anything to do with the sack, except it does look kind of like a scrambled up mess by the time they're all through. Maybe it's stuff you would put in a sack. However, it means the quarterback doesn't get to do a darn thing with the ball. Instead, they tackle him and down he goes. So no yards are gained. They even lose some. Now, what's all that about yards? Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. Try to find a team and even a player you like and follow his career and game plays. Best advice I can give you. Makes it a lot easier that way. People get out a lot of their frustration yelling and doing stuff at the game. To avid fans like my husband, it could be dead serious. Now, before the game, they really do use a quarter or something like a quarter. And what they do with it is they flip it, and that determines who gets the ball first. Or they have another choice. They get to make one of two choices, but not both. They get either they will start, their team will be the offense team, kind of like Family Feud, you know, when you win when you're the first one to get something right, you get to choose, do you want to start the game? Well, that's what they're doing here. But there's one more choice that they make in football, and that is which end zone they'll be running toward. And if you look at a football field out there, you can see the very end of it. And the very end on both sides are called end zones. So they can get the wind, sun, and other elements to work in their favor if they get to choose which way they're going to be running. The Packers are one team who often defer to the other team, meaning they let that other team start. That way they get to start the second half with the ball. They also, therefore, get to choose their end zone. Okay, you've learned the importance of the number 11. Now it's time to learn the importance of the number right below it, which is 10, of course. The offense has 4 tries, and 4 is important in native terminology and knowledge because 4 to them is a number of completion. And that's kind of what they're trying to do here. The offense has 4 tries that they call downs, not ups. It's down in football language. By the way, if you haven't noticed, football, like so many other things, has its own language. When you have time, check out what some of those words mean on computer or in a book. So with these 4 downs, they must make 10 yards. That means they have to run 10 yards or they have to throw the ball 10 yards. Any way they want to do it, they have to cover that field 10 yards towards their goalpost. The first number indicates which down they're starting. Okay, so 1st through 4, remember, they have 4 downs. And the second number that sits next to that one indicates the number of yards they must take the ball to get the next down. Like if they're starting with 10 and then they throw it and they got 3, so then they have 7 more yards to go. That's what would show. It would show 2 if it's the second down and 7 because they need 7 more yards. 10 yards or fewer unless penalties are lost. Yards are involved. So now let's go back to that quarterback. He chooses to throw the ball to a running back, which typically tries to remain close for short passes or handoffs, or a wide receiver who will run further downfield for a long pass, or maybe a tight end, which is somewhat of a position between the first two. The quarterback either follows through with a play that the coach has given him to play out, or he may change it right at the line of the scrimmage if he thinks his ideas would be better. So the line of the scrimmage is right where the play begins. The quarterback is responsible for calling each play, either the coach's choice or if he changes it, that particular choice. If they aren't in the red zone, which is about 20 yards from their end zone, and don't think they can make a touchdown, they can try to make a field goal. This is done by a special group of players, special team, featuring a kicker. This is usually done at the end of the 3rd down. They don't feel they can make a touchdown. They like to do this when the line of scrimmage for the 4th down is within about 30 yards of the end zone, though some kickers have been known to attempt and sometimes make 50 and 60-yard field goals. To score, they must kick the ball between the goalposts. Those goalposts are the big post out there. They call them uprights, and over the bar that joins them. And that bar runs horizontal between those goalposts. They may also use the 4th down to punt the ball the wrong direction to worsen their opponent's field position and avoid risking turning over the ball so close to their end zone. The team that's on offense trying to score a touchdown receives the ball. The other team's kicker is responsible for kicking it to them. The player who catches it, the kick returner, may either run with the ball toward his end zone, the one he's facing, or kneel to indicate they'd like to take the ball at the 20-yard line. After a quick huddle to determine their strategy, in other words, which play they plan to use, the teams will line up on either side of the line of scrimmage, the line that indicates where the play will start, the location where the ball was when it went out of play during the last down. The defense is comprised of 3 main groups. The defensive line attempts to rush or attack the passer if they can get past the offensive line and stop running plays. They line up directly at the line of scrimmage, usually with a 3-point stance in which one hand touches the ground. The linebackers line up behind them, usually in a 2-point stance with no hands on the ground, and perform multiple functions as necessary. They may rush the passer, cover receivers to prevent them from being open, or assist with defense against running plays. Finally, the defensive backs who line up in the rear or near the sidelines defend against pass plays by running alongside wide receivers and tight ends and act as a last line of defense against running plays. They also may attempt to intercept the ball, sometimes even running it in for a touchdown. If that happens, possession of the ball, the team on offense is said to be in possession, is returned to them for yet another attempt at scoring. This continues through each quarter until the clock runs out. At the beginning of each quarter, now that's the quarter's 15 minutes. The clock is set to 15 minutes. That's what a quarter of play is. It's not the same as a quarterback. And the time continues to run even when the ball isn't necessarily in play, unless a penalty is called, a passing play is incomplete, or when a player goes out of bounds. It will also be stopped during a timeout called by the coach during a timeout called by a referee, and generally that only happens to handle business like measuring and reviews of confusing plays, or during a coach's challenge in which the coach throws a weighted red flag into the field to indicate that he believes the call is unfair, requiring the referees to take 90 seconds to review it. It also stops automatically at the 2-minute mark at the end of each half. And there's 4 ways to score points in football. Touchdown, what they call a touchdown, equals 6 points. It's the biggest way to make points in football. A touchdown is the biggest single score in a football game. It is worth 6 points, and it allows the scoring team an opportunity to attempt to get an extra point. To score a touchdown, the ball must be carried across the goal line into the end zone, caught in the end zone, or a fumble recovered in the end zone, or an untouched kickoff recovered in the end zone by the kicking team. Have I totally confused you now? I'm sorry. Extra point and the 2-point conversion. 1 or 2 points. Immediately following a touchdown, the ball is placed either at the opponent's or the 2-yard line. Usually the offense will kick an extra point, also called the point after touchdown conversion or point after touchdown, known as PAT, point after touchdown. If the offense successfully kicks the ball through the goal's post, it earns 1 point. The offense can also score 2 points by running or throwing the ball into the end zone in the same manner as you would score a touchdown. If the offense cannot score a touchdown, it may try to kick a field goal. Field goals are worth 3 points and often are the deciding plays in the last seconds of close games. They can be attempted from anywhere on the field again, on any down, but generally are kicked from inside the defense's 45-yard on 4th down. For a field goal to be good, the place kicker or field goal kicker must kick the ball through the goalpost uprights and over the bar. The defense tries to block the kick and stop the ball from reaching the goalpost. Safety equals 2 points. The safety is worth 2 points. A safety occurs when the offensive ball carrier is tackled behind his own goal line. A safety also happens if there is a holding call in the end zone by the offense. Holding is when you reach out to grab the defensive player and allow him not to sack the quarterback who has the ball. Something to know. Turnovers. While trying to advance the football to the end zone, the offense may accidentally turn the ball over to the defense in one of 2 ways. 1, the fumble. When the ball carrier or passer drops the ball, that's a fumble. Any player on the field can recover the ball by diving on it, or he can run with it. The team that recovers a fumble either gets or retains possession of the ball. The interception. An aggressive defense can regain possession of the ball by intercepting passes meant for players on the other team. Both fumble recoveries and interceptions can be run back into the end zone. Summarization of the 2 teams. The 2 sides of the ball, so to speak. The offense. Whichever team has possession of the ball, again, is the offense. While only the quarterback, the wide receivers, tight ends, and the running backs can legally handle the ball, it is the quarterback who is the leader of the team and the playmaker. In fact, he's a man of many talents. He not only throws the ball, he outlines each play to his team. The offensive players. The center snaps the ball to the quarterback and blocks the defense. The quarterback passes or hands off the ball and may run with it. 2 guards and 2 tackles keep the defense at bay. 2 to 4 wide receivers catches the balls when thrown to them. 1 or 2 running backs take the ball and run with it. 1 or 2 tight ends block the defense and can also catch passes. The defense. Okay, the job of the defense, again, is to stop the offense. Pretty simple. The 11 men on the defensive team all work together to keep the offense from advancing toward the defense's end zone. The defensive players, linebackers, defend against the pass and push forward to stop the run or tackle the quarterback. The defensive line, ends and tackles, battles head-to-head against the offensive line. Cornerbacks and safeties defend against the pass from the quarterback to the wide receiver and help to stop the run. There's also the specials team. That's kind of a third team that has players on it. And one of those players would be the kicker that kicks for field goals. Finally, there are 32 NFL teams, 16 in NFC and 16 in AFC. Now, you are a novice pro. Now that you've taken a step up in football, it's time to lighten up. So various teammates of various football teams entered into a joke contest against each other on a one-to-one basis. The idea was to tell a joke, stupid though it may be, and make the other team member laugh. Whoever laughs first lost. Here are some of my favorite ones. Chicago Bear Jordan Howard. Why did the stadium get hot after the game? Baltimore Raven Kyle Joseph. Why? Chicago Bear Jordan Howard. Because all the fans left. It was a tie. Neither laughed. I thought it was cute though. Casey Hayward, LA Charger. What do you call a bear without any teeth? Melvin Gordon, LA Charger. Shakes his head, not knowing the answer. Answer. A gummy bear. Ho, 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 ha, ha, ha. Another tie. Pittsburgh Steelers. Ryan Shacer. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. I know there's some good Pittsburgh Steelers fans out there. What did one ocean say to another? Vikings. Cordell Patterson answered, nothing, it just waved. He's now with the Oakland Raiders. In fact, he played his first, well, no, I guess he's been playing a while against the Vikings. Okay, A-Cube Talib asks Darren Stewart, why can't zoo animals take tests? A-Cube Talib answers his own joke. Too many cheetahs. Darren Stewart lost by laughing. Okay. Damaris Thomas, Broncos, states before joke. I laughed too much. I don't know why I'm doing that. Carlos Dunlap, Cincinnati Bengals, asks, why should you not write with a dull pencil? Damaris from Broncos remains silent, looking at Carlos. Carlos states, because it's pointless. Demarius cracks up, followed by Carlos laughing also. Vikings Cordell Patterson. What do you call a guy with a rubber toe? Pittsburgh Steeler Ryan Shazer is waiting for an answer. Vikings Cordell Patterson cracks up as he answers, Roberto. They both laugh. Oakland Raider Kelechi Osamalea. What did the red light say to the green light? Oakland Raider Rodney Hudson. He's waiting for an answer. Oakland Raider with that strange name, Kelechi Osamalea. In soft, almost feminine type voice, he responded, don't look, I'm changing. Hudson cracked up with Osmaello following. Hudson said, man, delivery. Ha ha ha, very good.
Yeah, we gotta save our country or we'll eat ourselves alive. It's when we stick together, that's the way we will survive. It's honest John Q. Public's working hard across our land. We've seen the worst, we're still the best, we're all Americans.
Hopefully, you can reach me at Twitter. How can you reach me at Twitter? You'll find me under Flobo. Just hashtag Flobo. There I am. I'm also on iTunes, and you can reach me via email, and I would love to hear from you. And you can reach me on email via flowsfocus at klrnradio.com. So please contact me today. Let's get together and do some talking.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Every radio show, we focus on a new state. Well, we're all the way up to Iowa. We're doing these alphabetically. So we're up to Iowa. So I'll tell you, and we'll share a little bit, focus on Iowa. We know Iowa is a United State in the Midwestern United States. It's bordered by the Mississippi River on the east and the Missouri River and the Big Sioux River on the west. Surrounding states include Wisconsin to the northeast, Illinois to the east, Missouri to the south, Nebraska to the west, South Dakota to the northwest, and Minnesota to the north. In colonial times, Iowa was a part of French Louisiana and Spanish Louisiana. I'll get it out there. My tongue was kind of tied there. Its state flag is patterned after the flag of France. After the Louisiana Purchase, people laid the foundation for an agricultural-based economy in the heart of the Corn Belt, having 3 vertical stripes, blue, white, and red. The Iowa flag resembles the flag of France. On the white stripe is a bald eagle carrying a blue streamer in its beak. The state motto, "Our liberties we prize, and our rights we will maintain," is written on the streamer. The name of the state is emblazoned in red letters. In the latter half of the 20th century, Iowa's agricultural economy made the transition to a diversified economy of advanced manufacturing, processing, financial services, information technology, biotechnology, and green energy production. Iowa is the 26th most extensive in land area and the 30th most populous of the 50 United States. Its capital and largest city by population is Des Moines. Iowa has been listed as one of the safest states in which to live. Its nickname is the Cyclone Country and also Hawkeye State. People from Iowa include Ashton Kutcher, John Wayne, Johnny Carson, Cloris Leachman, who's still living and going strong in her late 90s, Herbert Hoover, Henry Wallace, and Joni Ernst. Now, a lot of who I named you will recognize. However, do you know the name of Lee DeForest? Well, I once lived in DeForest, Wisconsin. At that time, my sister remarked, "You really like forest." She was referring to the fact that I lived in Green Forest, Arkansas, and then DeForest, Wisconsin. But no, neither one is Lee DeForest. DeForest, Wisconsin, you see, is a village in Wisconsin. It's named after a man whose name was Isaac DeForest, who in 1856 bought the land on which the village sits today. Its name was long spelled DeForest with a space between the D and the forest and the F being capitalized. But it's since changed to a word, one word together without a space, but the F is still capitalized. Maybe Lee and Isaac were related, but Lee didn't have a space between his DeForest and no other capital letter than the D. Isaac spelled his DeForest with a capital D and F and had a space between the E and F. Oh boy, you really wanted to know that. That still would mean they possibly could come from the same family. I mean, it's possible. Even if they spelled it a little different, it's still basically the same last name. So they could be on the same family tree. Perhaps there are genealogists listening who would like to research that. If there is, please make sure and let me know. Now back to this Lee DeForest. Who is he? Well, after that long diversion, and I do mean long, you know everything you want to know now about DeForest, Wisconsin, don't you? Okay, well, after that long diversion, I think you have a right to know. He was an American inventor, self-described father of radio, and a pioneer in the development of sound on film recording used for motion pictures. He had over 180 patents, but also a very tumultuous career. He boasted that he made then lost for fortunes. He was also involved in several major patent lawsuits, spent a substantial part of his income on legal bills, and was even tried and acquitted for mail fraud. His most famous invention in 1906 was the three-element Audion triode vacuum tube. Well, what's special about that, you ask? Well, it was the first practical amplification device. Although DeForest had only a limited understanding of how it worked, it was the foundation of the field of electronics, making possible radio broadcasting, long-distance telephone lines, and talking motion pictures, among countless other applications. He made it, but he didn't fully understand how it works. Isn't that interesting? Scientist and engineer who earned 180 patents over his lifetime, including the Audion and the triode vacuum tube, which made radio broadcasting possible. In his long career, he founded over 20 companies and directed short films. Some of the other interesting parts of Iowa include the Ripleys, believe it or not, at one time had dubbed Burlington Snake Alley the most crooked street in the world. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Strawberry Point is the home of the world's largest strawberry. The state's smallest city park is situated in the middle of the road in Heartland. Scranton is home to Iowa's oldest water tower still in service. Dubuque is the state's oldest city. Crystal Lake is home to a statue of the world's largest bullhead fish. And that's not all. It has some glasses sitting there of a certain singer, I understand. Maybe I'll play a little stanza from that singer a little later on and let you see if you know who it is, if you don't already. Rathbun Dam and Reservoir is the largest body of water in the state. Spirit Lake is the largest glacier-made lake in the state. West Okoboji is the deepest natural lake in the state. Its depth is 136 feet. Imes Bridge is the oldest of Madison County's 6 bridges. Iowa's longest and highest bridge crosses Lake Red Rock. Elkhorn is the largest Danish settlement in the United States. At 16 miles, East Okoboji is the longest natural lake in the state. Kelowna is the largest Amish community west of the Mississippi River. The state's lowest elevation point at 480 feet is in Lee County. The Hollowell Bridge is the longest bridge in Madison County. Francis Drake was 66 years old at his inauguration and Iowa's oldest governor. Iowa's oldest continually running theater is in Story City. The Cedar Rapids Museum of Art houses the largest collection of Grant Wood artwork. Phelan Place Elevator in Dubuque is the world's steepest and shortest railway. Wright County has the highest percentage of grade A topsoil in the nation. Oh boy, now this next spring, you know where you want to come to get your soil for your plants, right? Okay, now you've been told. Okay, Quaker Oats in Cedar Rapids is the largest cereal company in the world. The St. Francis Xavier Basilica in Dyersville is the only basilica in the United States situated outside a major metropolitan area. Clarion is the only county seat in the exact center of the county. Dubuque is home to the only county courthouse with a gold dome. And you know, I heard that Denver had a pure gold dome too, so I'm not real sure if that's still correct or not. I'll have to do some researching into my fact that I thought I knew. Cornell College is the only school in the nation to have its entire campus listed on the National Registry of Historic Places. The Sergeant Floyd Monument in Sioux City honors the only man to die during the Lewis and Clark expedition. Maynard Reese is the only artist to win the federal duck stamp competition 5 times. A bronze, life-size sculpture of a Norwegian immigrant family circa 1860, is located on a 6-acre restored prairie site located at the east entry to Lake Mills on Highway 105. Iowa's only operating antique carousel is located in the city of Story City. Knoxville's National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum is the only museum in the country dedicated to preserving the history of sprint car racing. Iowa's only fire tower is situated in Yellow River State Forest. Cibola is Iowa's only town on an island. Herbert Hoover, a West Branch native, was the 31st president of the United States and the first one born west of the Mississippi. Mamie Dowd Eisenhower's birthplace is located in Boone and includes a restored frame house complete with summer kitchen and original furniture from the family. Van Meter is the hometown of baseball's Bob Feller, an Iowa farm boy who went on to greatness with the Cleveland Indians during the golden age of baseball. Born Donna Bell Mullinger in Denison, Oscar Award-winning actress Donna Reed started her career at the young age of 16. Born Mary and Robert Morrison in Winterset, John Wayne was the son of a pharmacist and grew up to become one of Hollywood's most popular movie stars. We'll talk a little bit more about him later, too, just slightly. Meredith Willson, who played with the famous John Philip Sousa and the New York Philharmonic before launching his career as a famous composer and lyricist, is a Mason City native. Glenn Miller, noted trombonist and orchestra leader, was born in Clarinda, located in southwest Iowa. The town of Fort Atkinson was the site of the only fort ever built by the U.S. government to protect one Indian tribe from another. Did you know that? Wow. Campers and motorhomes are manufactured in Winnebago County. They're called Winnebagos. Iowa is the only state whose east and west borders are 100% formed by water. Missouri and Mississippi rivers. The highest double-track railroad bridge in the world, the Kate Shelley Bridge, is located at Boone. Iowa is the only state name that starts with 2 vowels. Iowa State University is the oldest land-grant college in the USA. Decorah hosts Nordic Feast, a 3-day celebration of Decorah's Scandinavian heritage. The National Balloon Museum in Indianola chronicles more than 200 years of ballooning history. Sheldon High School Summer Theater, the only high school repertory in Iowa and one of just a few in the nation, presents a different play for each week in June and July. Iowa recipes. Well, I always thought that Iowa was the corn state too before I lived here. Now I know it's a lot more than just corn. Its food is one example of that. The Iowa State Fair always has a contest for recipes. We get some amazing food ideas this way. Here's one you might think came from Idaho, but actually it's included in our Iowa State Fair recipes. Ingredients: 3/4 cup unsalted butter, 1 cup light brown sugar, 1 cup granulated sugar, 2 large eggs, 1 teaspoon vanilla, 2 cups all-purpose flour, 1/2 teaspoon salt, 1 teaspoon baking soda, 2 cups potato chips, 1 cup chocolate chips. And the directions: heat oven to 350 degrees. Beat the butter and sugars together using an electric mixer set on medium-high speed until light and fluffy. Reduce the speed to medium and beat in the eggs and vanilla. Reduce the speed to low and mix in the flour, salt, and baking soda. Gently stir in the potato chips and chocolate chips. Drop the cookie dough by tablespoons full, about 2 inches apart, onto ungreased baking sheets. Bake for 14 to 16 minutes. Let cool on baking sheets for 2 minutes. Transfer the cookies to a wire rack to cool completely. It makes 60 cookies. And now, for you corn lovers out there, well, I mean, it is Iowa after all, Iowa corn au gratin recipe, and I like this one. The prep time is 20 minutes and the cook time is 45 minutes. It yields 6 servings. The ingredients are 6 ears of fresh corn or 1 can, 12 ounces, corn kernels drained, 3 tablespoons butter or margarine, 1 small onion finely chopped, 1 green bell pepper cored, seeded, and finely chopped, 3 tablespoons all-purpose flour, 2 cups milk, 1 cup shredded cheddar cheese. You could use another cheese, but I like cheddar. 2 eggs, well beaten. 1 teaspoon granulated sugar. Salt and pepper to taste. 1/2 cup breadcrumbs. And you can also use substitute frozen corn if you so desired. Instructions: preheat your oven to 350, grease a 2-quart casserole dish. If fresh corn is used, remove the husk and silk and cut kernels from cob. Set aside. In a large frying pan over medium heat, melt butter or margarine. Add onion and bell pepper and saute until tender. Stir in flour and then add milk. Cook, stirring constantly until mixture has thickened and is smooth. Remove from heat, add corn, cheddar cheese, egg, sugar, salt, and pepper. Pour into prepared casserole dish and top with breadcrumbs. Set into a shallow pan of hot water and bake 45 minutes. Remove from oven and serve immediately. Again, make 6 servings. I really enjoy that recipe around Thanksgiving as well. And things to do in Iowa. I bet you'll be surprised how many things there are to do in Iowa. Did you think it was just corn and flat and boring? Well, I have news for you. Listen to some of these great things to do. Well, the first one is not so great, but it is interesting, and that is the Villisca Axe Murder House. A brutal, unsolved murder case from last century still attracts morbid visitors to the crime scene that is now unabashedly named the Villisca Axe Murder House. Sometime after midnight on June 10, 1912, 6 children and 2 adults were found bludgeoned to death by an axe that was left at the scene. Accusations regarding the culprit spread quickly throughout the small town of Villisca, Iowa, sparking suspicious glances among neighbors that would lead to friendships torn asunder. Unfortunately, the crime-solving technology of 1912 was not sophisticated enough to identify the murderer, and the case has gone unsolved to this day. Amateur detectives, ranging from historians to psychics, have tried their hand at solving the case, but a verdict has never been reached. After changing hands a number of times since the crime, the house was eventually sold to local museum operator Darwin Lynn in 1994. Lynn immediately began renovations on the home, restoring it to a near-perfect replica of its condition at the time of the murders, and gave the site a grisly new name, Villisca Axe Murder House. Presently, visitors can tour the historic crime scene, now free from gore. And if the Villisca, Iowa bed and breakfast don't quite suit you during your visit, look no further. Daring and wealthy visitors can stay in the Axe Murder House for $400 a night. No, thank you. I did read the book, though. Do you remember what a Trekkie is? Just behind a small house in a private courtyard, we can admire the future birthplace of James Tiberius Kirk, captain of the Star Trek series Enterprise spaceship. A stone tells us that the Federation of Planets hero will be born there in 2228. It's getting closer and closer. In the meantime, packs of Trek lovers and various nerds meet there at the annual Trek Fest in the Iowa countryside. On those days, you can meet people dressed in space uniform alongside with the 1800s-styled Amish who ride horses and don't use electricity. Talk about the past and future meeting together. You'll want to go to Riverside, Iowa, if Trekkies and all things Trekkie appeal to you. I don't know how you're going to get there. Maybe you could just ask Scotty to beam you up, man. The largest man-made grotto in the world is in Iowa. Some call it the 8th wonder of the world. When Paul Doberstein, a young man studying to be a priest, fell ill, he made one of those promises to God that most people never fulfill. Father Paul Doberstein promised that if he survived, he would build a great shrine to the Virgin Mary. He lived and completed his end of the bargain by building the massive Grotto of the Redemption. Began in 1912, it was built using rocks from hundreds of miles away. With shells and semi-precious stones donated from across the country, Doberstein and his helper, the young Father Louis Greving, built the 4-story 9-grotto creation. Each grotto is dedicated to a different religious theme, like the Garden of Eden or the 10 Commandments. When Father Doberstein passed away in 1954, his helper, Father Grieving, took over and continued to work on the grotto until he too passed away in 2002. Together, they spent nearly a century working on the grotto. Bridges, anyone? A 25-mile trail winds its way through 5 Iowa towns, from Woodward to Ankeny, with a dramatic crossing over the Des Moines River Valley. The High Trestle Trail Bridge is half a mile long and 130 feet high and is said to be among the largest trail bridges in the world. Both the trail and the bridge started out carrying freight for the Union Pacific Railroad. But when the train stopped running, a combination of donations, grants, and public support helped turn the ribbon of rails into a multi-county path for hikers, bikers, and horseback riders. The bridge, a spectacular feat of engineering, connects the trail encircled at its center by an art installation of raw steel and ambient light. It took years to fund the ambitious project, and Union Pacific did its part by letting the 439-acre length of land go for next to nothing. With some congressional and local money, in 2008, 20 miles of trail opened to the public. By 2011, there was still one major roadblock, the Des Moines River Valley. While Union Pacific had no more use for the land, they needed the trestle's valuable steel L-beams to build a new bridge. That left a row of 22 concrete support pilings behind with nothing to connect them. For 3 years, the trail had a bifurcating chunk in middle, optimistically dubbed Iowa's Stonehenge. Finally, with the help of Iowa's Arts Council, the bridge project got underway with 2 local Des Moines companies at the helm. Engineering by the firm Schuck Bridson and the design commission going to RDG Dalquist Art Studios. The spiraling steel frames around the concrete roadbed are intended to evoke the sense of descent into a mine shaft, a nod to the history of mining in central Iowa. The lights, switched on between dusk and midnight a little earlier in the winter months, reflect in the river below, uniting the Rails to Trails project to the wide vistas of the landscape. The long trail stretches east-west through central Iowa. The bridge is about 3 miles west of downtown Madrid, crossing over the Des Moines River. And some people, they love trolls and they love those, what do they call them, gnomes, and they can't get enough of them. If that's you, you are in luck, Ames, Iowa. Elwood, the world's tallest concrete gnome. Beating out all other concrete comers, this massive garden feature's pointy hat has earned it a world record. Looming amidst the verdant surrounds of Remain Gardens at Iowa State University, Elwood, a massive garden gnome, stands as a jovial sentry against all others would dare challenge his title. How dare they? As tallest concrete gnome in the world. Elwood, as the rotund 8,000 ornament is known, stands 15 feet tall from the soles of his boots to the tip of his tall pointy hat, vying for the surprisingly contentious honor of largest gnome in the world. Elwood beat out the former champ, Noam Chomsky, a mini golf course resident in upstate New York, who was thought to be the tallest garden gnome in the world, until an 18-foot-tall freak of kitschy nature was discovered in Poland, beating both of the woodland giants. This European skyscraper was found just as Elwood was being created in a Wisconsin workshop, but unfortunately he was too far along in the design process to make him any taller. However, all was not lost for Elwood, as the polished gnome was found to be made of fiberglass. Oh my goodness, as opposed to the Iowa gnome's 3,500 pounds of rebar and concrete. So his creators simply amended his title to largest concrete gnome in the world. So there. I mean, really, who in the world would want to be made out of fiberglass? Oh my goodness. Are you a horseback rider? Iowa River Valley. Iowa is known as being one of the most rural places in the United States, if not the whole world, but that does not make the state any less beautiful. The Iowa River Valley is arguably the best place in the state to experience its raw natural beauty, while the River Valley Lodge and Campground in Farmington is worth visiting for anyone seeking somewhere more developed. Dozens of miles of unspoiled horse trails can be enjoyed at your own pace in gorgeous Iowa. Snake Alley, Burlington, once recognized by Ripley's Believe It or Not for being the world's most crooked road, Snake Alley in Burlington is without a doubt one of the oddest sights to see in Iowa, with 7 curves over 275 feet. Snake Alley is lit by replica Victorian lampposts in order to maintain its unique old-timey feel. The alley dates back over 100 years and was originally created as a shortcut to Burlington's business district, but today it's best known as a strangely beautiful tourist attraction. Pikes Peak State Park. one of the most photographed places in Iowa. Pikes Peak State Park is a must-visit location in the state for anyone who wants to experience the natural, cultural, and historical resources of Iowa. Majestic views of the Mississippi River are available from the highest point in the park, and the breathtaking scenery is well worth the tough climb to the top. Pikes Peak, which officially became a state park in 1936, covers nearly 1,000 acres, and there are hiking trails and campgrounds to enjoy within the grounds of the state park. And then we have Beulah Falls, which is certainly one of the most beautiful places to visit during a vacation in Iowa. Located in Clayton County, the falls are a stunning 20-foot cascade that is well worth the journey to reach them. Beulah Falls is also located close to Spook Cave. Oh, ooh, ah, boo, which is a popular local tourist attraction where visitors can take an escorted boat ride into the heart of a flooded cave. Whoa, man, spooky. That would be fun to do. Swinging Bridge in Columbus Junction. The Columbus Junction Swinging Bridge, which is sometimes known as the Lover's Leap Bridge, is more than 100 years old and certainly among Iowa's most beautiful places. One of the state's most unusual tourist attractions, it takes genuine courage and bravery to cross the Swinging Bridge, which has a current span of 262 feet. Legend has it that a heartbroken Indian maiden plunged to her death in the ravine below, hence the name Lover's Leap Bridge. The Mississippi River is one of the United States' most beautiful natural attractions, and one of the best places to see it is in Keokuk, Iowa. The Keokuk-Hamilton Bridge is one of the most beautiful crossings over the Mississippi River, which borders Iowa for a total of 300 miles. Fishing is an extremely popular activity in the Mississippi River among the Iowa people, while Keokuk itself is home to an annual American Civil War reenactment, as well as attractions such as the Keokuk Veterans Memorial, the Miller House Museum, and the George M. Verity River Museum.
Yeah, we gotta save our country or we'll eat ourselves alive. It's when we stick together, that's the way we will survive. It's honest John Q. Public's working hard across our land. We've seen the worst, we're still the best, we're all Americans.
Hopefully, you can reach me at Twitter. How can you reach me at Twitter? You'll find me under Flobo. Just hashtag Flobo. There I am. I'm also on iTunes, and you can reach me via email, and I would love to hear from you. And you can reach me on email via flowsfocus@klrnradio.com. So please contact me today. Let's get together and do some talking.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Yeah, we gotta save our country or we'll eat ourselves alive. It's when we stick together, that's the way we will survive. It's honest John Q. Public's working hard across our land. We've seen the worst, we're still the best, we're all American.
No trip to Iowa would be complete without a visit to the Boone and Scenic Valley Railroad, which has numerous locomotives and dozens of cars. The railroad offers a rare chance to ride on the train tracks in an open-air car, while special events, including dinner trips, are regularly put on by the organizers of the project, too. The most common trip on the Boone and Scenic Valley Railroad is approximately 1 hour and 45 minutes in length and is without a doubt one of the best things you can do in the state of Iowa. And whatever you do, don't miss these next two towns. Downtown Pella, Iowa. It has a large windmill. I think the largest perhaps in the United States. I'm not sure on that, though, so don't quote me on that one. It's not one of the biggest towns in Iowa for sure either, but it is a Dutch community, and it's certainly one of the most beautiful places to visit within the borders of the state. Pella has been given titles such as Tourism Community of the Year and Corporate Friend of Tourism, with many visitors soaking up the incredibly natural beauty at its Lake Red Rock, which is the largest lake in Iowa. Tulip time is perhaps the best opportunity to visit Pella, as this is when the Dutch community comes into its own. It has a great, great parade, and the Christmas parade and the July Dutch Summer Festival, known as Kermis, are also well worth checking out during a visit to Iowa. And don't miss the beautiful tulips when they bloom as well. Among the best tourist attractions in the town are the Pella Historical Village and the Schultz House Museum and Gardens. It's time for the radio to let some of its sponsors be known. We'll be right back with some really cool facts about Iowa right after this. One place you definitely don't want to miss from my experience is Amana Colonies. The Amana Colonies are a group of settlements of German Pietists in Iowa, comprising 7 villages, calling themselves the Ebenezer Society or the Community of True Inspiration. They first settled in New York State near Buffalo in what is now the town of West Seneca. They hail out of Germany. However, in order to live out their beliefs in more isolated surroundings, after living in New York near Buffalo, they moved west to the rich soil of east central Iowa, near present-day Iowa City in 1855. They lived a communal life until the mid-1930s. A striking feature of the Amana Colonies is that for 80 years, they maintained an almost completely self-sufficient local economy, importing very little from the wider industrializing U.S. economy. The Armenians were quite the people, you see. They were able to be quite self-sufficient. A lot of Iowans are that way, but these folks that first lived in Amana are really quite outstanding. And, they have to be, considering that for 80 years they maintained an almost completely self-sufficient local economy. Wow. They were able to achieve this independence and lifestyle by adhering to the specialized handcrafts and farming occupations which they had brought with them from Germany. Today, Amana is a major tourist attraction known mainly for its restaurants, yummy, yummy restaurants, I'll add, and craft shops, very interesting craft shops, I'll add. Included in the shops are woodworking shops, wine shops, and even a brewery called Millstream. The colonies as a whole have been listed as a National Historic Landmark since 1965. And all nature lovers are sure to love Maquoketa Cave State Park. Located in Maquoketa, Iowa, there are artifacts such as pottery as well as tools and projectile points made of stone have been found in the caves and surrounding area. These discoveries tell us that these caves have been a popular spot for hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years. Early recorded history tells of the Native Americans in the area and that they were likely visitors to the Raccoon Creek valleys. From the discovery of the caves in the 1830s by settlers until the present, the park has been a place to view the special beauty that nature has to offer. And while you're in Iowa, Living History Farms is just off the interstate and worth your stop. 500-acre open-air museum located in Urbandale, Iowa. The museum's mission is to educate visitors and demonstrate the past 300 years of Iowa's agricultural history. They also have historical dinners at times on the calendar, and many other great events too. Make sure and give a yell out so I'll know you've been here. Better yet, come on over and say howdy. If you enjoy visiting libraries and presidential grounds, Herbert Hoover's Presidential Library and Museum should not be missed. The president is buried there. Vesterhem Norwegian American Museum. If you love all things Norwegian or have Norwegian bloodlines, do plan to stop. Decorah, Iowa is the National Norwegian American Museum and Heritage Center with over 24,000 artifacts, 12 historic buildings, a folk art school, and a library and archives. John Wayne Birthplace, Winterset, Iowa. Years after his death, the Duke is still beloved by many. Come on over and visit his birthplace. The life story of John Wayne began in the small central Iowa town of Winterset. He was born Marion Robert Morrison on May 26, 1907, the son of Clyde and Mary Brown Morrison. His father, Clyde, was a pharmacist who worked on the south side of Winterset's historic town square. In his youth, Clyde attended nearby Simpson College in Indianola, Iowa. John Wayne described his father as the kindest, most patient man I ever knew. Wayne's mother, Mary, was of Irish descent, and Duke said she was a tiny, vivacious, red-headed bundle of energy. Their modest four-room home has been restored to reflect its appearance in 1907, the year of the actor's birth. Do you suppose that the Duke's father hoped his son would become a pharmacist? It seems like if he did, he kept that to himself because the Duke thought the world and all of his father. And it did seem that fate had other plans. The only museum in the world dedicated to John Wayne, the facility naturally includes a movie theater. Relaxing, comfortable seats, originally from Grauman's Chinese Theater in Hollywood, Iowa, and watch a documentary on Duke's phenomenal film career. Be sure to explore our gift shop's wide assortment of John Wayne merchandise, perfect for souvenirs or great new items to add to your collection. You'll be fascinated as you linger and learn about John Wayne, the actor, the private citizen, and an American legend. And I know for a fact that all you baseball lovers out there, you've seen the movie Field of Dreams. I've even seen it, and I thought it was a great movie. Well, Field of Dreams is a baseball field and pop culture tourist attraction built originally for the movie of the same name. It's in Dubuque County, Iowa, near Dyersville. And there's another really neat place to go to. Have you ever heard of hobos? Oh, sure you have. They're part of America. The first rule of the hobo ethical code is decide your own life. Don't let another person run or rule you. In most people's minds, hobos are things of the past, frozen in time since the Depression. The hobo's image, walking along rails with a light bindle stick, hopping steam trains from state to state to avert his fate, solidifies him as an iconic American figure. However, one might be surprised that hobos don't just belong to the past of the U.S. Small but dynamic communities mindful of preserving their history, their ethic, and their legacy exist today. Since 1974, 3 different generations composing the hobo community converge once a year in the city of Britt, Iowa, to celebrate and exchange thoughts, tips, and stories about a penniless lifestyle. They gather to share tales of wandering around the country, avoiding troubles and danger, and to preserve their self-taught engineering and coded languages generated by decades of hobos. With the goal of archiving and keeping alive their culture, the Hobo Foundation bought the Brit Movie Theater and installed a permanent display of artifacts donated by the itinerant workers, extensive memorabilia of such famous hobos as Frisco Jack, Connecticut Slim, Hard Rock Kid, and Pennsylvania Kid, just to name a few. Surely you've heard of them. The foundation also hosts the National Hobo Convention. On display are original hobo crafts, photographs, videos, and documentaries depicting the hobo lifestyle, paintings, a historic postcard collection, and a hobo doll collection. Visiting the Hobo Museum is a deep dive into the most Americana-esque branch of vernacular archaeology. Yeah, fun.
You'll never find this hobo in an airport, 'cause I ain't found out how to hit your plane. But if you want to see a master working, just stand back and watch this hobo catch a train. You'll never find this hobo in an airport, 'cause I ain't found out how to hit your plane. But if you want to see a master working, just stand back and watch this hobo catch a train.
So, if you find the carefree life of a hobo interesting, make sure you check out this museum. So, if you find the carefree life of a hobo interesting, make sure you check out this museum. Speaking of corn, this should be interesting. I do believe. Corn originated in the Americas. Called maize in many languages, corn was first cultivated in the area of Mexico more than 7,000 years ago and spread throughout North and South America. Teosint, one of the first corns, looked very different from our corn today. The kernels were small and were not placed close together like kernels on the husked ear of modern corn. Corn Mother is the first mother in some Native American tribal legends. The details of First Mother's life vary greatly from telling to telling and tribe to tribe. In different communities, First Mother is said to have been created by the Great Spirit, the cultural hero Glooskap, or both, or simply sprung to life spontaneously from the morning dew. In some stories, First Mother and her husband, sometimes identified as First Father, or other times simply as Corn Mother's husband, were created at the same time. In other versions, First Father had already been created to help Glooskap, and First Mother joined him later. After giving birth to the tribes who follow this legend, First Mother then sacrifices her life to feed them, turning her body into the first garden. Legends about corn abound in many tribes. Remember, the early people used their legends to help them explain daily things in their lives. One of my favorite legends was about when the various corn ears were chosen. To this day, the Hopi refers to themselves as the people of the short blue corn. While I wish my memory were perfect, which it certainly is not, I do recall that the various ears of corn promised various things when they were picked. The yellow corn would bring prosperity and enjoyment, but life would be short for whoever chooses it. The short blue ear of corn meant a life of hardship and hard work, but the people who choose it will have peaceful times and live to a ripe old age. Well, it was the Hopi that picked the short ear of blue corn. To this day, again, they are sometimes called the short blue corn people or similar references. There are legends about three sisters. One was corn, one was squash, and one was something else. The three of them together were the native people's main foods in many parts of America. So it's natural that these legends came about. No matter where you visit in America, even far away Alaska, you will find native legends pertinent to their life stories. Do you remember the picture of the old farming couple? He had a pitchfork in his hand. The painting itself was called American Gothic. General Mills Cornflakes used this painting along with the song from Green Acres to advertise. The Gothic house in the painting can be found in Eldon, Iowa. The house was first owned by a Civil War veteran and livery stable owner. He built the house for his family, which included himself, his wife, and his 8 children. When you consider the size of the family, the house, which is just 504 square feet, or about the size of a large studio apartment, is incredibly tiny. But but it was fairly standard for the time period, as was the white color and batten siding that would make it famous decades later. The windows on the upper level, the Gothic windows that would lend their name to Wood's painting and are probably what inspired him to feature this home in his work in the first place, are believed to have been purchased from the Sears catalog. There are two prevailing theories. The Dibbles purchased the windows to make their homes stand out during tough times, or they were just following a trend in which homes were made more desirable with small extravagances. The home remained a private residence all the way through most of the 20th century until it was donated to the State Historical Society of Iowa in 1991. Today, following a 30-year preservation effort, the home looks as it did in 1930 when Wood finished his painting in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and includes a visitor center to handle the tourist traffic coming through. It was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1974. And now you know the rest of the story about the commercial that was so often used. I always like to give updates whenever I can on my show regarding articles that I've covered. So this one is a very short one on Sheriff Joe Arpaio. I'm still not sure I'm saying his last name right. At any rate, I'm sure everyone remembers when President Trump gave him a pardon. The Justice Department is now backing his request that the court vacate its ruling and all other rulings in the case by filing papers that call the case moot. It goes on to say vacating the ruling would be just and appropriate in light of the unpredictable grace of a presidential pardon. A U.S. District Judge in Phoenix is scheduled to hear Sheriff Joe's case on October 4th. When I hear more, I'll let you know more on that, but that's what I know so far. You've heard me mention Eagle Angels before, I'm quite sure, if you've listened to my show at all. I'm very honored to be their founder. You see, we don't take in a penny of money, yet we reach out to all our military every time we can. This is the written description of our group. This is a group for individuals who want to support soldiers and veterans. Our entire focus is first on soldiers and veteran support. We will also work at being support for each other. Our motto is Eagle Angels giving loving encouragement to soldiers and others. Equals Eagles. No posting or political or ads, please. We have many teams that do so very many things. These include Eagle Angels Veteran Team. This team cares for our veterans. They do their best to recognize veterans' birthdays by sending cards. In fact, we have a World War II veteran who will be celebrating his 100th birthday in just a few weeks. This team also sends cards for special holidays like Veterans Day. They also have special events to help veterans. Quite an amazing team with quite an amazing leader. Janine truly rocks and keeps the team looking up to snuff. Eagle Angels Active Military. This team cares for our active duty soldiers. We do anything from adopting them to writing letters to whatever the need is for them. Shirley is the leader and is a veteran herself. She has a lot of love for our active duty military, and she could use your help. Eagle Angels Baking Team. This team is where it's at if you love sweets. They are sweet as can be, and they bake yummy treats, both for our veterans and soldiers upon request. They bake a dozen cookies for every veteran's birthday. They also bake for our deployed soldiers when we have requests to do so. Patty leads the veterans part, and Daisy with Lori leads the soldiers part. Eagle Angels in Memory of Team. This team places a memory graphic on this team site for our military members who die. It's how we make sure we continue to remember them. Jody is the leader of this memory team. Eagle Angels Military Family. This team cares for our military families. It's relatively new, and Robin is the leader of this team. And next, Fisher House and Veterans Homeless Shelters. Right now, we help one Fisher House that the leader is associated with. Eventually, we'd like to spread our wings and cover more. Christine is the leader of that part of the team. We also have a list of veterans homeless shelters and reach out to them as often as we can. Lori is the Veterans Homeless Shelters leader. Eagle Angels Appreciation and Recognition. We do our best to recognize our members' birthdays, and we do some fun things like having random Eagle Angels of the Month. At the end of 6 months, the names are entered into a pot, and whoever wins, Eagle Angel sends a package, compliments of that Eagle Angel, to the military member of their choice. Jody leads this team. Eagle Angels Graphics. We have 2 Eagle Angels that lead this team. They make some really pretty clip art for us. One of the ways we could use these graphics is to put them on the packages we mail out to our military. Shirley and Jody together lead this team. Eagle Angels blankets and sewing. This is for our crafty Eagle Angels to do fun crafts and such for our veterans and soldiers. It's led by Susan. So now you know a little more about our group and teams. We work hard to help our military, both active and retired, as much as we can. Let us know if we can help you or someone you know. We can always use cards and packages for our military members. So please keep us in mind. We're not asking for your money, but we could use your help. Thank you. You've heard me mention Eagle Angels before, I'm quite sure, if you've listened to my show at all. I'm very honored to be their founder. You see, we don't take in a penny of money, yet we reach out to all our military every time we can. This is the written description of our group. This is a group for individuals who want to support soldiers and veterans. Our entire focus is first on soldiers and veterans support. We will also work at being support for each other. Our motto is Eagle Angels giving loving encouragement to soldiers and others. Equals Eagles. No posting or political or ads, please. We have many teams that do so very many things. These include Eagle Angels Veteran Team. This team cares for our veterans. They do their best to recognize veterans' birthdays by sending cards. In fact, we have a World War II veteran who will be celebrating his 100th birthday in just a few weeks. This team also sends cards for special holidays like Veterans Day. They also have special events to help veterans. Quite an amazing team with quite an amazing leader. Janine truly rocks and keeps the team looking up to snuff. Eagle Angels Active Military. This team cares for our active duty soldiers. We do anything from adopting them to writing letters to whatever the need is for them. Shirley is the leader and is a veteran herself. She has a lot of love for our active duty military, and she could use your help. Eagle Angels Baking Team. This team is where it's at if you love sweets. They are sweet as can be, and they bake yummy treats, both for our veterans and soldiers upon request. They bake a dozen cookies for every veteran's birthday. They also bake for our deployed soldiers when we have requests to do so. Patty leads the veterans part, and Daisy with Lori leads the soldiers part. Eagle Angels in Memory of Team. This team places a memory graphic on this team site for our military members who die. It's how we make sure we continue to remember them. Jody is the leader of this memory team. Eagle Angels Military Family. This team cares for our military families. It's relatively new, and Robin is the leader of this team. And next, Fisher House and Veterans Homeless Shelters. Right now, we help one Fisher House that the leader is associated with. Eventually, we'd like to spread our wings and cover more. Christine is the leader of that part of the team. We also have a list of veterans homeless shelters and reach out to them as often as we can. Lori is the Veterans Homeless Shelters leader. Eagle Angels Appreciation and Recognition. We do our best to recognize our members' birthdays, and we do some fun things like having random Eagle Angels of the Month. At the end of 6 months, the names are entered into a pot, and whoever wins, Eagle Angels sends a package, compliments of that Eagle Angel, to the military member of their choice. Jody leads this team. Eagle Angels Graphics. We have 2 Eagle Angels that lead this team. They make some really pretty clip art for us. One of the ways we could use these graphics is to put them on the packages we mail out to our military. Shirley and Jody together lead this team. Eagle Angels Blankets and Sewing. This is for our crafty Eagle Angels to do fun crafts and such for our veterans and soldiers. It's led by Susan. So now you know a little more about our group and teams. We work hard to help our military, both active and retired, as much as we can. Let us know if we can help you or someone you know. We can always use cards and packages for our military members. So please keep us in mind. We're not asking for your money, but we could use your help. Thank you. We just have a few minutes before it's time to pay some bills. So I thought it might be fun to look at some presidential quotes. They sure have some funny ones sometimes out there. They say the funniest things. Did you know Abraham Lincoln is the first one to be credited with the following statement? You can fool some of the people all of the time and all of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all of the time. Jimmy Carter stated, I can't deny I'm a better ex-president than I was a president. The last 14 months of his term were marred by the Iran hostage crisis, in which 52 American staff were held in the U.S. Embassy Embassy in Tehran. They were released on the day he left office. For his subsequent work over human rights, he was awarded the 2002 Nobel Peace Prize. Ulysses Grant evidently was quite musical. Not. He was reported to have said, "I know two tunes. The first one is Yankee Doodle and the second one isn't." Was he a man before his time? I mean, after all, it sounds like he's almost using the word not, like so many use it today. What era would you have guessed was this said by a president? Any guesses who the president was? Here's the quote. "This is a government of the people, for the people, by the people, no longer. It is a government of corporation, for corporation, by corporation." This one surprised me because it was earlier than what I would have thought it was. It was 1877 to 1881. Rutherford B. Hayes said it. Ronald Reagan said, "I have left strict orders to be awakened at any time in case of a national emergency, even if I'm in a cabinet meeting." Ronald Reagan found it hard to stay awake in meetings, so he had jelly beans. "It is better to offer no excuse than a bad one." George Washington. "No one ever listened himself out of a job." Calvin Coolidge, as he was about to throw out the ball on opening day for the Washington Senators. Abraham Lincoln. "If I were Two-Face, would I be wearing this one?" Ronald Reagan. "It's true hard work never killed anyone, but I figure why take the chance?" And of course we've all heard Teddy Roosevelt's statement of, "There is a homely old adage which runs, 'Speak softly and carry a big stick, you will go far.'" And Herbert Hoover. "Blessed are the young, for they shall inherit the national debt." Franklin Roosevelt. "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself." And Jackson. "Washington, D.C. is 12 square miles bordered by reality." And James A. Garfield. "The truth will set you free, but first it will make you miserable." He lasted only 200 days in office. He died from infection of a gunshot wound. He had been shot by a Washington lawyer who was bitter about not getting a counselor position. Can you believe it? Gee. We just have a few minutes before it's time to pay some bills. So I thought it might be fun to look at some presidential quotes. They sure have some funny ones sometimes out there. They say the funniest things. Did you know Abraham Lincoln is the first one to be credited with the following statement? "You can fool some of the people all of the time and all of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all of the time." Jimmy Carter stated, "I can't deny I'm a better ex-president than I was a president." The last 14 months of his term were marred by the Iran hostage crisis, in which 52 American staff were held in the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. They were released on the day he left office. For his subsequent work over human rights, he was awarded the 2002 Nobel Peace Prize. Ulysses Grant evidently was quite musical. Not. He was reported to have said, "I know two tunes. The first one is Yankee Doodle and the second one isn't." Was he a man before his time? I mean, after all, it sounds like he's almost using the word not, like so many use it today. What era would you have guessed was this said by a president? Any guesses who the president was? Here's the quote. "This is a government of the people, for the people, by the people, no longer. It is a government of corporation, for corporation, by corporation." This one surprised me because it was earlier than what I would have thought it was. It was 1877 to 1881. Rutherford B. Hayes said it. Ronald Reagan said, "I have left strict orders to be awakened at any time in case of a national emergency, even if I'm in a cabinet meeting." Ronald Reagan found it hard to stay awake in meetings, so he had jelly beans. "It is better to offer no excuse than a bad one." George Washington. "No one ever listened himself out of a job." Calvin Coolidge, as he was about to throw out the ball on opening day for the Washington Senators. Abraham Lincoln. "If I were Two-Face, would I be wearing this one?" Ronald Reagan. "It's true hard work never killed anyone, but I figure why take the chance?" And of course we've all heard Teddy Roosevelt's statement of, "There is a homely old adage which runs, 'Speak softly and carry a big stick, you will go far.'" And Herbert Hoover. "Blessed are the young, for they shall inherit the national debt." Franklin Roosevelt. "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself." And Jackson. "Washington, D.C. is 12 square miles bordered by reality." And James A. Garfield. "The truth will set you free, but first it will make you miserable." He lasted only 200 days in office. He died from infection of a gunshot wound. He had been shot by a Washington lawyer who was bitter about not getting a counselor position. Can you believe it? Gee.
Yeah, we gotta save our country or we'll eat ourselves alive. It's when we stick together, that's the way we will survive. It's honest junkie publics working hard across our land. We've seen the worst, we're still the best, we're all Americans.
Hopefully, you can reach me at Twitter. How can you reach me at Twitter? You'll find me under Flobo. Just hashtag Flobo. There I am. I'm also on iTunes, and you can reach me via email, and I would love to hear from you. And you can reach me on email via flowsfocus@klrnradio.com. So please contact me today. Let's get together and do some talking.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
Ourselves alive. It's when we stick together, that's the way we will survive. It's honest junkie publics working hard across our land. We've seen the worst, we're still the best, we're all Americans.
You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Hidden Traps is now available in paperback and ebook from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
I guess it's probably because of my medical background, having once been a nurse, that I always like to try to cover a little bit medical in our program. And this one I'm going to say, is your doctor safe? Patients often select doctors based on recommendations from family and friends, distance from their house, or participation in their health insurer's network. Knowing whether a doctor has been sanctioned by a professional licensing board should be another essential part of your search. Doctors can be disciplined for criminal convictions, medical negligence, wrongly prescribing controlled substances, and other wrongdoing. Thousands of doctors across the United States are on medical probation for reasons including drug abuse, sexual misconduct, and making careless, sometimes deadly mistakes. But they're still out there practicing, and good luck figuring out who they are. The state medical board's report on Leonard Curian, an obstetrician gynecologist in Southern California, tells in stark clinical detail what it says happened to several patients in his care, and it's not easy to read. The report describes the time Curian surgically removed the wrong ovary from a 37-year-old woman, a mistake the patient only learned about weeks later when, still in pain, she went for more tests. The good ovary was missing and the cystic one was still inside her. Curian's record gets worse from there. The report makes the case of how his errors of medical knowledge, judgment, protocol, and attentiveness contributed to the deaths of 2 patients. Both were young mothers who had recently given birth to healthy babies. You might think a doctor with that type of record would be barred from practicing medicine, but that didn't happen in this case. Thousands of working physicians are currently being disciplined by their respective state medical boards for findings that patients may want to know about. Things such as sexual misconduct, their own addiction problems, overprescribing controlled substances, and all sorts of other documented examples of unprofessional or dangerous doctoring. Though the odds are quite good that your doctor isn't one of them, it's important to know for sure. 66% of Americans lean toward doctors from seeing patients until their probationary period ends. Here's the problem. Even in a time when vast amounts of information set at the ends of your fingertips, it's still difficult for consumers to find a doctor's disciplinary records and its causes. Through our Safe Patient Project, Consumer Reports is working to change the way the system works around the country. The onus shouldn't be on patients to investigate their physicians, says Lisa McGiffert, who directs the effort. Doctors on probation should be required to tell their patients of their status. Last fall in California, the state with the most doctors, Consumer Reports petitioned the medical board to do just that. The board rejected the idea, saying it would put too much of a burden on doctors and damage the doctor-patient relationship. They also filed a public records request and were able to obtain California's entire database of doctors on probation as of late September, information that is now searchable on Safe Patient Project website. Consumer Reports' deep dive into California's records brings this important issue into sharp focus. Read some of the probationary settlements, all signed by doctors and their lawyers, and it becomes clear why this matters. You can find out more about the safety record of your toaster and whether or not it's going to catch on fire than you can find out about your physicians. Robert Oschel, former Assistant Director for Research and Disputes at the National Practitioner Data Bank, said. There's the orthopedic surgeon whose inattention to a man's fractured thigh bone resulted in a leg amputation, and the family practice physician who, along with her cardiologist husband, ordered more than 4 million doses of hydrocodone in 15 months, but when pressed by investigators, could account for only a small fraction of it. You'll find examples of doctors practicing under the influence, a psychiatrist drinking mid-shift, and the urologist arrested for DUI while on call, his blood alcohol reading almost twice the legal limit. And what about the highly regarded surgeon with a seizure disorder? Is his condition something patients need to know about? Some of the worst cases raise the question, what does it take for a doctor to have his or her license suspended or revoked? And if those sorts of transgressions are regularly tolerated with only modest and discreet sanctions, the system of disciplining physicians needs to be made more transparent, reliable, and accessible than it is today. State medical boards are really hybrid regulatory agencies combining government oversight with professional peer review. Their main purpose is to license and discipline physicians and to investigate complaints, whether they are filed directly by patients or come from other medical personnel, hospitals, the courts, or law enforcement. It's important work, often performed by volunteers, doctors, and also some outside the profession. One of the core defining points of what a profession is that it takes responsibility for regulating itself, says Jim E. Sabin, MD, director of the ethics program at Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare, an insurance company in Boston, and a clinical professor of psychiatry and population medicine at Harvard Medical School. Board findings and sanctions should be public, Sabin says. Can that be uncomfortable for the medical profession? Yes, it can. That's unfortunate, the discomfort. But the responsibility of an agency like a board of registration is to the public. In the case of Curian, the California board placed him on probation from 2015 until 2022, citing 40 instances of his negligence and incompetence, yet allowed him to keep practicing on the condition that he completes courses in clinical training, ethics, and medical record keeping, and doesn't have to tell new or existing patients he's on probation or what's in the board's 25-page investigative report that details his mistake. Curian did not respond to messages left with his office staff. Two of his lawyers declined to comment when asked. A very small percentage of doctors have accounted for most of the country's medical malpractice payouts over the last quarter century. That's according to an analysis done for Consumer Reports of the National Practitioner Data Bank, a federal repository that has collected disciplinary actions in medical malpractice payouts since 1990. Robert E. Oschel, who worked as the Associate Director for Research and Disputes at the NPDB for almost 15 years until he retired in 2008, ran the numbers and figured out that less than 2% of the nation's doctors have been responsible for half of the total payout since the government began collecting malpractice insurance. Malpractice is considered an inexact indication of substandard care for many reasons. Cases often settle before trial and without documented findings of wrongdoing, and even the best doctors and surgeons can sometimes face lawsuits. Still, Oshel says, when doctors have multiple large settlements against them, it can be a warning sign, suggesting that if licensing boards and hospital peer reviewers were willing to either get these doctors to stop practicing or get training, we'd all be better off. Even with a disciplinary record, many doctors continue to practice, some even changing states to do so. Although hospitals have access to a federal database to look up the disciplinary histories of doctors in every state, the public cannot access it. To find information about a doctor, the best place to start is your state medical board's license lookup page. Each state has a different process for looking up doctors and getting disciplinary records if there are any. Some states provide full disciplinary histories, including legal documents about violations and subsequent board actions online. Others charge a fee or require a public records request. In addition, for a $9.95 fee, the Federation of State Medical Boards will provide the disciplinary history of specific doctors in every state. You have to fill out a form and pay a fee to access the record. For non-disciplinary license information, you can also look up doctors in Administrators in Medicine's Doc Finder. However, only 17 states participate. There are ways you can look up a doctor's license online and obtain any related disciplinary documents in each state. Unless otherwise noted, disciplinary documents can be accessed on a doctor's license verification page. Smart ways to choose a doctor. Many people looking for a doctor start by asking friends, relatives, or coworkers for recommendations. Though those suggestions may be perfectly good, you will still need to do your own research. Here are the steps you should take. Number 1, know your insurance. A doctor who isn't affordable for you probably isn't Dr. Right. So contact your insurance company and get a list of approved doctors, or give your insurer the name of the doctor you are considering. If you're on Medicare, use the Physician Compare tool, Medicare.gov Physician Compare, to see which doctors accept Medicare. Tip, don't rely solely on your insurer's website. Doctors frequently add or drop plans, and lists may be out of date. Call the doctor's office and ask. Spot red flags. Yeah, there's red flags sometimes that you can spot. You just have to be aware of what those red flags are. Red flags aren't a good thing, as we know. And yes, you do need to be aware of what those red flags are, because it will help you when you're picking a doctor. We all need to know these things, you know. It's not easy to get clear information about your doctor's disciplinary history, as we've mentioned, but the best place to at least start is docinfo.org, run by the Federation of State Medical Boards, an organization representing state agencies that license and discipline doctors. Tip, if your search results list anything under actions, click on the link, which will take you to a state's website. Once there, you will have to dig deeper to find out exactly what the doctor is on probation for. Some sites are easier to use than others, as I found in my analysis of websites in all 50 states. If you're unclear of what to do or how to interpret what you find, call your state medical board. And do look a little deeper. Does the doctor order the right test and prescribe the best possible treatments? Are patients seen promptly and treated with respect? Reliable data on these measures are admittedly difficult to find, though physician report cards are becoming more common. If you live in California, Maine, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Washington, Wisconsin, the greater Columbus, Ohio area, or the Detroit area, you can see Consumer Reports ratings on physician performance for medical groups in those regions. If not, the nonprofit Informed Patient Institute gathers available online physician report cards and assesses the usefulness of each. Tip, Don't necessarily trust those best doctors lists in many city or regional magazines or on websites. They can be a measure of reputation as determined by colleagues, not by quality data, such as how often patients get the best test or treatment. And be wary of website user reviews when judging quality. It's difficult to know who wrote the reviews and what their relationship to the physician might be, and doctors often score high ratings based on just a few responses. Check on hospital affiliation. The doctor you choose can determine which hospital you go to. Your insurance company's website, and for Medicare patients, the Physician Compare tool, Medicare.gov, Physician Compare should list the doctor's hospital affiliations. Tip for national results, use Consumer Reports hospital ratings to compare medical centers in your area. Follow the connections. The government now collects information on how much money doctors get from drug and medical device companies. Such payments can be legit, but a physician who receives large payments may be unduly influenced by industry. ProPublica posts that type of payment information. Tip, also ask the doctor staff whether the office gets many visits from drug reps. More and more are restricting such calls. That's good. They not only take up a lot of the doctor's time, but also may inappropriately influence their choice of drugs. Consider compatibility. Use your first appointment with a doctor as a litmus test. Factors to consider. Does the doctor listen without interrupting? Do you feel your questions are totally answered? Does the doctor explain your diagnosis and treatment and specify a date for a follow-up appointment? Tip, also ask the front office staff about the practice's policies. How long must you wait to get an appointment for a routine visit? Optimum is less than a week. Are some-day appointments available? Also evaluate how much time you spent in the waiting room. Is the office staff friendly, efficient, and respectful? Things to know. Those are important things to know. As we've talked about, when the state medical board puts doctors on probation, it can have little effect on their practice. In fact, the board's imposed terms and penalties sometimes seem crafted specifically to keep a doctor working. Louis Felix Tincopa Minen, a family practice doctor in Whittier, California, is on probation for repeatedly sexually assaulting a vulnerable female patient with many psychological problems. According to the medical board report, the young woman kept returning to his office in spite of his groping her because she needed her attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and seizure medications refilled. She was in the exam room alone with him, and he locked the door. After he was caught, the report says Tincopa Minen first denied it, then said it was consensual, yet admitted that it wasn't the first time he'd had sexual contact with the patient. The state board's solution to that problem, on top of other more pro forma probationary terms, was to require Tincopa Minen to undergo a psychiatric evaluation and have a chaperone with him when he examines female patients. And he doesn't have to tell his patients why that person is present or that he is on probation for sexual misconduct. When reached for comment, Tincopa Minen said he was too busy working to talk. Oh, yes. And then there's a pediatrician that was impaired at work. Yasina Candelaria. The medical board cited her for 13 causes of discipline, saying she was under the influence of drugs to such an extent as to impair her ability to practice medicine with safety to her patients and the public. Even in some of the worst cases of physicians placed on probation, the punishments meted out by the California State Medical Board, and sometimes even the criminal justice system, amount to a slap on the wrist. Take this young pediatrician and her husband, an OB-GYN. He worked as a cosmetic surgeon, the board's report said, and Candelaria joined him as his anesthesiologist, sometimes providing deep sedation. There were many problems with that arrangement, beginning with the fact that she is neither trained nor certified to offer that level of anesthesia. On the day in March 2013 when law enforcement agents raided their clinics, the medical board reports says she was visibly impaired with extreme body shakes and tremors. On a day that surgeries were scheduled, a search found loose pills in her pocket, syringes in her car, and injectable vials of fentanyl and Demerol in her home bathroom. Husband and wife were arrested, and Gonzalez surrendered his license to practice medicine. The medical board cited him for more than 100 examples of his negligent and incompetent care, including botched surgeries and allowing staff with no medical training to insert intravenous lines. The board cited Candelaria for 13 causes of discipline, writing that she was under the influence of drugs to such an extent as to impair her ability to practice medicine with safety to her patients and the public. Gonzalez was sentenced to 90 days in jail and 1 year of probation for 3 felonies, including tax evasion and conspiracy to practice medicine without a license. According to a local news account, he was ordered to pay $100,000 to compensate harmed former patients who agreed not to sue. About the same time last spring, the state board lifted Candelaria's temporary suspension and placed her on probation for 7 years, but allowed her to continue practicing as a pediatrician if she adhered to certain terms, including not practicing alone and biological fluid testing. She is now accepting new patients. Kind of scary. I don't think I would want to be her patient. She must tell them she is prohibited from providing deep sedation, though she doesn't have to explain why, nor does she have to mention her disciplinary history or drug use. Although the California Medical Board reports describe the underpinnings of the cases against doctors, they rarely explain the board's thinking on why it is leveling a particular sanction. To Harvard Sabin, the medical ethicist, that is a lost opportunity for more transparency. I think it's important to provide the rationale, he says. A board's findings could range from permanently taking away the license to requiring someone to take a course in ethics. It ought to explain why it is doing that. Best and worst of state medical boards. If you want to see whether your doctor has been disciplined for bad behavior or shoddy medical care and why, again, you need to check with your state medical board. Consumer Reports and the Informed Patient Institute, a non-profit patient safety group, analyzed the website of boards in all 50 states to see how complete the information was and how easy they were to use, and rated them on a 1 to 100 scale. Best 5 overall score was California, New York, Massachusetts, Illinois, North Carolina.
Yeah, we gotta save our country or we'll eat ourselves alive. It's when we stick together, that's the way we will survive. It's honest junkie publics working hard across our land. We've seen the worst, we're still the best, we're all Americans.
Hopefully, you can reach me at Twitter. How can you reach me at Twitter? You'll find me under Flobo. Just hashtag Flobo. There I am. I'm also on iTunes, and you can reach me via email, and I would love to hear from you. And you can reach me on email via flowsfocus@klrnradio.com. So please contact me today. Let's get together and do some talking.